Chapter 1655, Second Tier Domain 2. This time, she brought the evildoer to Cheng Xian's side. Cheng Xian, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed to regulate his breathing, felt something strange beside him and quickly opened his eyes. When he saw that it was Lung Ruoxue and that demonic man who had appeared beside him, his suspended heart was greatly relieved. "Great Aunt! It's you? You scared me to death." Cheng Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Then he took a look at Lung Ruoxue's cultivation and widened his eyes in disbelief. "Great Aunt? You've already reached the God realm? He's really abnormal," Cheng Xian said, making a fuss. Cheng Xian's words made Lung Ruoxue's forehead fill with black lines. Was she a pervert? She had always thought that she was just lucky. "Great Aunt, let's quickly leave this place, it's very dangerous here." Cheng Xian looked at the surroundings and continued carefully. "You're injured," Lung Ruoxue reminded him. She knew that Cheng Xian had forgotten that he was undergoing devilish training. Otherwise he wouldn't be so alert. "I know." After Cheng Xian finished speaking, he took out a pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into his mouth. Then he stood up. "Great Aunt, let's quickly leave this place," Cheng Xian urged. "Since you have pills, why didn't you eat them before?" Lung Ruoxue was speechless. "I have to keep it. I don't know what kind of place this is, and when I can leave this place." Sigh. Cheng Xian was very depressed. He had already consumed a lot of the pills in his hands. Therefore, unless he was seriously injured, he would not be willing to eat them. However, after seeing Lung Ruoxue, his confidence was restored. "Great Aunt, you have a pill in your hand, right? Give me some," Cheng Xian asked shamelessly. "There is. But, what if I give it to you?" Lung Ruoxue said on purpose. "I'm protecting you," Cheng Xian said matter-of-factly. "Young Master Cheng, haven't you heard of the saying it's better to ask for help than to ask for help from others? I prefer to rely on myself rather than you protecting me," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "Great Aunt, just give me some. You can easily refine pills, but I can't." Cheng Xian ignored Lung Ruoxue's rejection and pleaded with a bitter face. "I can make it easily, but I need the herbs. Why don't you provide the materials, and I'll help you refine it?" Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she suggested. She wasn't being petty. However, this was demonic training after all. If she gave Cheng Xian the pill, it would be extremely unfair to the others, especially to those elders who were struggling on the line of death. So, she could not open this back door. Or else, what was the point of this demonic training? "Great Aunt." Cheng Xian's eyes were filled with tears as he looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. However, Lung Ruoxue was unmoved. Instead, she smiled at Cheng Xian and said, "Young Master Cheng, you take care. Let's go take a look elsewhere." After she finished speaking, she pulled the evildoer and disappeared, leaving behind a furious Cheng Xian. Thanks. After leaving Cheng Xian's place, Lung Ruoxue brought the evildoer with her and left the fantasy sky. Sitting in the garden of the main residence, Lung Ruoxue and the demon enjoyed the images displayed on the screen as they ate the freshly baked desserts. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. In these 3 months, Lung Ruoxue first made some adjustments to the rules of the demonic training. This was because during her previous inspection, she realized that many of the beasties were reluctant to kill. Sometimes, when they could clearly kill their opponents, they would just let them go. As a result, the meaning of the demonic training would be diluted. She was very clear that this was because those supporting beasties didn't want to end the demonic training too early. To put it bluntly, those beasties who loved to stir up trouble hadn't had enough fun yet. With this in mind, Lung Ruoxue adjusted the rules. Originally, the humans and beasts who participated in the training in the illusory sky would be sent out once they died, ending their demonic training. However, Lung Ruoxue had now adjusted the number of deaths to 3. Furthermore, even if they had died, they would not remember what had happened, and would have to start from the beginning. On top of that, she had also warned the beasts not to show any mercy. Otherwise, they would be the ones to be punished. In fact, the reason why she was so strict was not because she wanted to see the second elder and the others die. She just wanted them to experience the threat of death. Only after experiencing the test of life and death would their minds be more determined, and have the opportunity to accept the next training. Because the training after that would be even more terrifying. After some adjustments, the inside of the illusory sky was now as she had hoped. The enthusiasm for battle was high, especially for Beastie, who was helping with the auxiliary training. His desire for battle had reached a peak, and this situation was something she was very happy to see. Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer sat in the garden as usual. For the past 3 months, the evildoer's life had been very comfortable because there was no third wheel to disturb him and Shui Er's alone time. However, he knew very well that this kind of life would not last for long. Although he was a little depressed, he had no choice but to accept it. Suddenly, a silver light flashed in front of Lung Ruoxue and the demon. Following that, a half-grown old man appeared in front of them. This half-grown old man was the 19th elder who had just experienced 3 deaths and had been sent out of the illusion heaven. However, 19th elder still looked confused. He was clearly not used to it. Wasn't he dead? Why would he appear here? 19th elder's face was full of question marks. As his memory slowly recovered, the memories before his death also rushed into his mind like a tide. Suddenly, he remembered that he had died during the devil training. Moreover, the feeling of death was still fresh in his mind. 19th elder was stunned for a moment. Then he felt a piercing pain in his body. A trace of sweet blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and his body fell down involuntarily. Looking at the unconscious 19th elder, Lung Ruoxue took out a healing pill and stuffed it into 19th elder's mouth. After a while, 19th elder opened his eyes. Although the injuries on his body had already healed, the 19th elder tragically discovered that his strength had actually regressed. Originally, his strength could be ranked in the upper middle level among the divine emperors, but now he was only at the early divine emperor level. This made him feel very pained. What kind of hellish training is this? The second elder said with a look of grief and indignation. I've been weakened because of this. He was so angry that he wished he could bite Lung Ruoxue a few times. However, Lung Ruoxue did not take his anger to heart and only said indifferently, "If you die, your strength will naturally decline. In fact, you should be glad that you didn't decline to the level of a divine king." You, 19th elder was angered to death by Lung Ruoxue's words. His chest heaved up and down rapidly, and the finger he pointed at Lung Ruoxue was trembling. Chapter 1656, Second Tier Domain 3. I'm telling the truth. If you're only an early God Emperor, you'll definitely fall back to the God King stage. So you should feel lucky. Lung Ruoxue said in an infuriating manner. So to say, I have to thank you. The 19th elder roared in anger. There's no need to thank me, just don't hate me. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. It would be strange if I didn't hate you. However, at this moment, the 19th elder, who was mourning the loss of his strength, did not want to bother with Lung Ruoxue at all. After glaring at Lung Ruoxue fiercely, he left in a fit of anger. Shui, the 19th elder hates you to death. Looking at the back of the 19th elder, the demon laughed. It doesn't matter. He'll thank me in the future. Lung Ruoxue replied nonchalantly and turned her gaze towards the screen. 19th elder was the first to leave the fantasy sky. Who would be next? On the other side. After returning to his residence, 19th elder sat cross-legged on his bed and began to slowly cultivate. However, a week later, he clearly felt that his cultivation speed was much faster than before. He was pleasantly surprised, but he did not think much about it. However, his confidence in improving his cultivation to his original strength as soon as possible had increased a lot. At this rate, his strength should be able to recover in at most half a year. It turned out that 19th elder's estimation was a little conservative. It had not been 3 months, and his strength had returned to normal. During this period, more elders had been sent out of the illusion heaven on and off. When they first came out, their reactions were similar to 19th elder's. Their hearts were filled with grief and anger, especially the few elders who had dropped to God King cultivation. They wished they could skin Lung Ruoxue alive. However, after calming down, they knew that they could not do anything to Lung Ruoxue. They could only admit that they were unlucky and start cultivating seriously. However, after cultivating for a period of time, they all discovered that their cultivation speed had increased, just like the 19th elder. This made them overjoyed. Not only that, but they were also surprised to find that their mental state cultivation had improved as well. This was simply a pleasant surprise to them, but it was so great that they couldn't believe it. After discovering this fact, their enthusiasm for cultivation grew even higher. After their strength recovered to their previous cultivation level, they continued to cultivate diligently. Time passed. A year later, the humans and beasts who had entered the fantasy sky for the demonic training had all come out. When the second elder and the others came out, they all looked angry, but Fengde and the others were happy, because many of them had never died before. They were transported out by the illusion sky when their time was up. After coming out of the illusion heaven, they were like the second elder and the others. They made the best use of their time to cultivate, and they naturally entered the bracelet to cultivate. From the start, they were much better than the second elder and the others. After half a year of closed-door cultivation, Lung Qingtian, Fengde, and the others had all advanced to the god realm. This result made everyone extremely happy. His grandfather, brother, and Fengde had all advanced, so they naturally had to celebrate. However, without Lung Ruoxia's instructions, everyone started to prepare food on their own. After they were done, Fengde personally went to invite second elder and the others. At this moment, the second elder and the rest had all recovered their previous strength. Their cultivation speed had increased and their mental state had improved. This caused their resentment towards Lung Ruoxia to decrease by a lot. Even so, they could not bring themselves to lose face. Some of the elders still did not give Lung Ruoxia a good look. However, Fengde's personal invitation had given them a way out of this embarrassing situation. Hence, all the elders gladly accepted the invitation. At this moment, the garden was extremely lively. Lung Ruoxia's subordinates and beastie, as well as the elders who were still pulling a long face, were gathered together. Today is to celebrate the improvement in everyone's strength, so let's play to our heart's content. Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes surveyed the crowd as she chuckled. Don't worry, miss. We won't be polite. Fengde laughed. And Lung Ruoxia nodded, then turned her gaze towards second elder and the rest. We won't be polite either. The second elder said unwillingly. He still had resentment in his heart, because as long as he thought of his wishful thinking in the illusionary sky, he wanted to find a hole to hide in. When he saw Lung Ruoxia in the illusionary sky, he actually thought that he was infallible and wanted Lung Ruoxia and that evil-looking man to leave quickly. He even wanted to create a chance for them to live. In reality, she did not need it at all. Now that he thought about it, he was really stupid. No wonder she was not anxious at all back then, and even told him to run. He was too honest. Second elder, you were so loyal last time. I think I should offer you a toast. Lung Ruoxia touched on a sore spot, and even raised her wine glass after she finished speaking. Seeing this, the second elder was extremely depressed, but he had no choice but to politely raise his glass and return the toast. Second elder, why are you so loyal? The seventh elder asked curiously. Although the others didn't say anything, they all looked at the second elder with anticipation. It's nothing. It's just a small matter, not worth mentioning. The second elder's cheeks were slightly red. It was unknown if it was due to embarrassment or because of the wine. Thanks, Second elder, I'm sorry. Lung Ruoxia said with a faint smile. I'm not embarrassed. The second elder gritted his teeth in anger as he glared at Lung Ruoxia. All right. You're not embarrassed, you're just blushing. Lung Ruoxia said helplessly. You. The second elder was a little exasperated and ignored Lung Ruoxia. Lung Ruoxia also knew when to stop. When she saw second elder's silence, she pulled the demon back into her room and entered the bracelet. The departure of Lung Ruoxia and the evildoer did not affect the enthusiasm of the others. They played until late at night, until they were drunk in the garden. The next day, when Lung Ruoxia and the demon came out of the room, they saw Fengde and the rest lying all over the garden. This was not the first time they had gotten so drunk. Besides that, second elder and the rest were also among those who had gotten drunk. However, second elder and the rest were not completely drunk. Not only that, second elder's hand was still tightly holding onto the disheveled old man's as he mumbled something like good brother. Seeing them in this state, cold sweat began to drip from Lung Ruoxia's forehead. No wonder people said that men's friendship was on the table. It seemed that after last night, the relationship between those elders and Fengde and the others had become closer, which was a good sign. At this time, Yu Qing and the others who had returned to their rooms early last night also came to the garden. When they saw the scene in the garden, they were all speechless. Heavens! How much did they drink? Yu Qing was speechless. The wine that we brought out is all gone. Yu Qing, you guys send them back to their rooms. Lung Ruoxia sighed helplessly. All right. Yu Qing and the others nodded. Then, they each dragged a person back to their room like a sack. After a busy morning, she finally managed to get all the drunk people back to their positions. As for the drunk beasts, they were kept into Lung Ruoxia's bracelet. The drunk people slept for 3 whole days before they got out of bed. The first thing Fengde and the rest did when they woke up was to visit Lung Ruoxia. Miss, we just woke up. Fengde and the others were a little embarrassed. I know. Lung Ruoxia nodded her head. Go and call in the second elder and the others. Lung Ruoxia ordered. Yes. Fengde quickly responded. When they came, they were a little nervous, afraid that Miss would blame them. Who knew that Miss didn't mention this at all? This made them feel relieved. Hee. Miss is so good. Fengde turned around and left. Not long after, the second elder and the others were brought into the living room. Why are you looking for us? The somewhat haggard second elder asked on behalf of all the elders. They had just woken up, and this wretched girl had already sent someone to look for them, causing them to not have the time to properly wash up their image. It's been a year since your last demonic training. Are you ready for the next training? Lung Ruoxia said with a calm smile. There's still training? The second elder stammered. They had died 3 times during the last demonic training, and they had also felt the arrival of death 3 times. That feeling was still fresh in their minds, and they couldn't forget it even if they wanted to. Why did this wretched girl still want to come? Last time, you only went to the first realm of the illusory sky. In fact, there are 3 realms in the illusory sky. Next, you will be going to the second realm. However, this time, it's voluntary. So, I want to ask you, who is interested in experiencing the second realm? Lung Ruoxia said with a smile. However, in the eyes of the second elder and the others, her smile was definitely a smile used by the big bad wolf to trick Little Red Riding Hood. Therefore, they immediately became vigilant. Even though Lung Ruoxia said that they could go on their own accord, but if they chose not to go, would it affect their position in the old Grand Madame's heart? The elders' minds were spinning, repeatedly thinking about the benefits, but no one was the first to speak. Don't worry. This time it's absolutely voluntary. Even if you don't want to go, I won't tell Godfather. Lung Ruoxia saw their expressions and knew what they were conflicted about. Hence she kindly added on. However, in the hearts of the elders, her words were clearly not very credible. At this moment a voice interrupted. I want to go. Chapter 1657. Trial Space 1. Are you sure you want to go? Lung Ruoxia raised her head and looked at the owner of the voice. And Cheng Xian nodded and looked at Lung Ruoxia curiously. It will be very dangerous. Lung Ruoxia reminded. It doesn't matter. However, you have to prepare more pills for me. Cheng Xian said shamelessly. He could not make the same mistake again. This time he had to bring enough pills. All right. However, you have to prepare the materials yourself. Lung Ruoxia said with a smile. No way? How can you be so petty? Cheng Xian's face was bitter as he said gloomily. Where would he have the materials now? I can't help it. I have too many people to feed. Besides, you're not my subordinate, so I have no obligation to give you anything for free. More importantly, your Cheng family is rich and powerful, so you can't possibly be short of these materials, right? If you don't have the materials, you can buy them with money. Lung Ruoxia said with a smile. It was impossible for her to give it to others for free. She must not develop the habit of getting it without putting in any effort. Moreover, she was not a philanthropist. Her medicinal herbs did not come from the wind. How could she give it to others for free? All right then. I'll use money to buy it. Cheng Xian said helplessly. No problem. Elders, if you don't have enough pills, you can also buy from me. If you don't have the money, just write me an IOU. I believe in your credibility. You will definitely not renege on your debt. Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. However, her trust in him made the second elder and the others quite depressed. Of course, they would not go back on their word, but wasn't it a little too much to ask them to write an IOU? They had lived for so long, but they had never signed an IOU before. We didn't say we were going to the second-tier domain of the illusion heaven. The 19th elder said angrily. In other words, we don't need to buy medicinal pills from you. The first elder of the Ning family was an alchemist. In addition to the Ning family's influential position in the divinity, they had never been short of pills. However, they had almost finished eating all the pills during the devil training in the fantasy sky. Hence, if they wanted to enter the second-tier realm, they really had to buy pills from Lung Ruoxue. However, the 19th elder really did not like Lung Ruoxue's confident tone. Otherwise, he would not have said that. You're all not going? I only found out today that you're all so cowardly. Young Master Cheng is only a god king, yet he dares to try his second-tier domain. How could you not dare? Lung Ruoxue said disappointedly. Fengde and the rest in the room were also looking at the elders with disdain. Who says we don't dare to go? The second elder said angrily. Even though he knew that Lung Ruoxue was just goading him, he had no choice but to take the bait. He could not allow others to say that they were cowards and that they did not dare to. To them, this was a huge humiliation. Then you guys are going? Lung Ruoxue asked with uncertainty. Miss, they will definitely go. Didn't second elder say that they would dare to go? Fengde didn't give the elders a chance to speak and rushed to speak. Oh, since that's the case, then all of you can go. I'll give you 3 days to prepare. 3 days later, I'll send you into the second domain of the illusionary sky. Lung Ruoxue gave the final word. When the elders heard this, they could only nod their heads gloomily. Now that things had come to this, if they refused, they would lose all their face. If you're afraid that you don't have enough pills, you can buy them from me. Lung Ruoxue added. How long do we need to stay in the second-tier domain? The second elder could not help but ask. At least half a year. Lung Ruoxue spoke the truth. However, she was still holding back. Hehe. Thanks, will I still die? The second elder asked with lingering fear. I will. However, this time, you can choose for yourself. You'll know the details when you go in. Lung Ruoxue kept him in suspense. Oh. The second elder was very depressed because Lung Ruoxue's words were as good as not saying anything. All right. You guys should go back to your rooms and rest. I'll send you to the fantasy sky in 3 days. I'm afraid it'll be at least half a year before I see you again. Take good care of yourself. Lung Ruoxue laughed. We will. The second elder gritted his teeth. He didn't know what this wretched girl was up to this time. Woo. Why were their lives so bitter? After saying that, the depressed second elder led the other elders back to his residence. After they left, Fengde couldn't help but ask. Miss, what was inside the second realm? What's the difference between this and the devil training? He was itching to know the situation inside in advance. The Buddha said, can't say. You'll know when you enter. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Miss, Fengde and the rest had a bitter expression on their faces as they looked at Lung Ruoxue with grievance. Boo. The young miss was really too evil. She even kept it a secret from them. All right. You guys do as you please. I'm going to prepare the pills for them. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she pulled the demon back to her room and immediately went into her bangle to refine the pill. 3 days later, everyone gathered in the garden. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes swept across the crowd. Then, she took out hundreds of small porcelain bottles from her bracelet and placed them on the stone table in the garden. She then said to the elders and the rest, the elixirs that you can use are all here. Since we are all acquaintances, I will only charge you the cost price, 10 top-grade crystals for a bottle. No bargaining. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. However, when the elders heard Lung Ruoxia's words, not only did they not reveal any happy expressions, their faces darkened instead. There were even elders who couldn't help but complain in their hearts. Such a small bottle, and it cost 10 pieces of top-grade crystals. This was really too underhanded. This was clearly robbery. Moreover, this seemed to be the cost price. With such a high cost price, how much would it be worth if it was sold at the market price? The pills they needed now were nothing more than ordinary healing pills and divine power replenishing pills. These pills could sell for a high price on the market not because they were expensive, but because they required a lot of medicinal materials. Even if those materials were only ordinary medicinal materials, they were used in large quantities, so their market price was not low. However, no matter how expensive those pills were, they could not be sold for 10 top-grade crystals at their cost price. He was clearly treating them as fools. Are you guys buying? Lung Ruoxia asked again when she saw that the elders were silent. I'll buy it. 10 premium crystal stones were nothing to him. However, more importantly, he believed that if Lung Ruoxia's products could be sold at such a price for healing pills and divine power replenishing pills, they would definitely be better than those cheap ones on the market. Young Master Cheng has good eyes. Lung Ruoxia praised. Hehe. As your first customer, can I give you a discount? Cheng Xian asked shamelessly. I said no bargaining, but since you're the first one to show your support, I'll give you one more pill for each bottle. Buy more, get more free. Lung Ruoxia promised. Chapter 1658. Trial Space 2. Then give me 10 bottles of each. Cheng Xian said without even thinking. No problem, he said. Lung Ruoxia nodded happily. Then, she took out 20 bottles of elixirs and passed them to Cheng Xian. After that, she took out a small bottle each and said to Cheng Xian, "This is for you." Thank you. Cheng Xian was very satisfied and opened a small porcelain bottle to take a look. However, he immediately closed the bottle cap again. In that instant, he felt the rich spiritual energy in the bottle rush at his face. This medicine was far beyond his expectations. Give me another 100 bottles of each. Cheng Xian said without any hesitation after he had inspected the goods. Although the Cheng family did not lack healing and god power replenishing elixirs, the elixirs at home were nothing compared to Lung Ruoxia's. These were the real top-tier elixirs. All right, he said. Lung Ruoxia was overjoyed. After passing him the 200 bottles of elixirs, she gave him 10 bottles of each type and completed the transaction. After completing this huge transaction, Lung Ruoxia was in an extremely good mood. Therefore, even if those elders did not buy it, she did not care. After all, once they entered the second stage domain, they would know how important these pills were. And when those elders saw Cheng Xian buy so much at once, they were even more afraid to make a move. Because in their eyes, Cheng Xian was just a prop. Who would buy so many of these ordinary pills at once? This kind of behavior was simply squandering. Elders, are you really not buying? Lung Ruoxia asked one last time. This was the last chance she was giving them. All the elders looked at each other and stared at each other. Finally, the second elder said, "Then I'll buy a bottle of each." In fact, he didn't want to buy it, but he really didn't have any pills on hand. Just in case, he decided to buy a bottle to keep as a guarantee. But when he thought of the price, he felt a little pained. Second elder, you won't regret this. Lung Ruoxia said with a smile. I hope so. With a pained expression, the second elder took out 20 top-grade crystals from his storage ring and handed them over. After receiving the small porcelain bottle from Lung Ruoxia, he stored it into his storage ring without even looking at it. What about you guys? After concluding her deal with the second elder, Lung Ruoxia turned her attention to the other elders. The other elders saw that they couldn't avoid it, so they bought a few bottles. After the transaction was completed, Lung Ruoxia took out the fantasy sky and placed it in the empty space in the garden. With a flash of silver light, the second elder and the others in the garden were sucked in. You guys go in too. Lung Ruoxia then said to Fengda and the rest. Yes. Fengda and the others nodded, then walked into the illusory sky in a good mood. After everyone had left, only Lung Ruoxia and the demon were left in the garden. Shwea. It's just us again, that's good. The demon hugged Lung Ruoxue into his arms and said happily, However, you'll be entering the fantasy sky to challenge the second-level domain later. Lung Ruoxue said guiltily. She had not discussed this with the demon. Thanks, you're going in too? Then I'll go too. The demon didn't even think and said, Good. We'll go in together. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then she turned her gaze to the screen in the garden. The second elder and the others were now in a dusky space. Fortunately, they did not split up this time. However, in this place where they could not even see their own fingers, even if they gathered together, they would not be of much use. Second elder, what the hell is this place? Within the second layer of the illusionary sky domain, an elder said in a depressed manner, You're asking me, but who should I ask? In reality, he was also worried that Lung Ruoxue would mess with them. However, after seeing Fengde and the rest, he was much more at ease. After all, that wretched girl would not put her subordinates and family in danger just to mess with them. However, this place was indeed strange. Not only was it eerie, but it also felt like someone was watching them. The second elder and the others looked cautious. Compared to Fengde and the others, they were much calmer. Moreover, Chengxian had been mixed in with Fengde and the others, which was enough to prove that he was smart. Just as everyone was bewildered, suddenly, a lightning bolt that looked like a fire snake shot out from the gray fog. Although the lightning bolt wasn't very thick, it was as fast as the wind. It flickered with electric sparks as it headed straight for the second elder and the others. When the second elder and the others saw this, they couldn't help but curse in their hearts. Isn't this too much bullying? There were so many people, but this lightning didn't chase after them. Instead, it targeted them. What was this? In order to avoid the attack of lightning, the elders immediately scattered. Lightning saw that it had lost its target, so it spun in the air and flew back into the thick fog. Following that, a screen appeared in front of everyone. On it, several time options were displayed. There were 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and so on. The longest was 10 years. The second elder and the others had never seen such a thing before, so they all looked at Fengde with a blank expression. How long do you want to stay here? Just choose that one. Seeing this, Fengde held back his laughter, but he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. These elders of the Ning family really had not seen the world. After all, they weren't as stupid as they were when they first saw this kind of thing. Oh, all the elders understood. Moreover, they did not want to stay here for too long, so they all chose the option of half a year. However, just as he made his choice, a line of words appeared on the screen. When the elders saw it, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Because the words were written, you must pass all 10 levels within half a year. Otherwise you will be punished and may even stay inside forever. What? Pass all 10 stages in half a year? They didn't even know what kind of trial this was. If they couldn't make it through within half a year, wouldn't they be asking for trouble? Fuck. This was really too much. Why didn't you tell them before you made your choice? This was clearly a belated effort. All the elders secretly sighed to themselves. This fact made them extremely depressed. Following that, they turned their gazes towards Fengde and the others, only to see that they had all chosen the option of 10 years. Instantly, the elders' anger rose again. Are you in cahoots with that wretched girl? You deliberately tricked us into choosing the one that would take half a year while you chose the one that would take the longest time. 19th Elder was the first to launch an attack. He was so angry that smoke was rising from the top of his head. Collude? Why don't you try skewering one for me? Before we came in, we didn't know what kind of place this is, just like you. Also, we didn't trick you into choosing this place for half a year. Please be clear about this. Fengde said coldly. In his heart, he despised the 19th Elder. Don't think that he didn't know that these old guys clearly didn't want to stay here for too long. So they chose the option with the least time. Now that they knew that they had to pass the 10 levels in half a year, they were afraid of being punished for not completing it, so they pushed the responsibility onto them. So what if they thought they were soft persimmons that could be bullied? Chapter 1659. Trial Space 3. Then why did you choose the longest option? You guys clearly know the situation here. The 19th elder tried to quibble. We chose the longest option because we're weak, so we want to stay here longer. Besides, is 10 years that long? I'm afraid that your closed-door cultivation will take more than 10 years, right? Feng De said with a mocking expression. 19th elder was speechless because what Feng De said was the truth. However, he was really unwilling to give up. After receiving the glare of the second elder, he obediently shut his mouth. Hee. I've also chosen 10 years. Cheng Xian said with a smile. You're wise. Feng De gave Cheng Xian an appreciative look. This young master of the Cheng family was much more observant than some of the elders of the Ning family. I've benefited a lot from the devil's training, so I want to stay here for a few more days. Besides, 10 years is really nothing. Cheng Xian said honestly. That's more like it. Young miss wouldn't have let us come here for no reason. Feng De nodded. At this moment, a bone-chilling laughter suddenly rang out in the gray space, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. Who is it? Who's talking? The 19th elder asked nervously. His eyes were even more cautious, and he looked around with extreme vigilance. Stop looking, you can't see me. The voice chuckled evilly and continued. I am the manager of this space. Now, I will tell you the rules here. The space that you are in now can only be considered as the periphery. This is also the safest place. Although there will occasionally be things coming out from inside, it is much safer than the inside. The place where you will be passing through is in this dense fog. After you go in, it will form an independent training space. So you don't have to worry about others seeing your embarrassing appearance when you pass through. The self-proclaimed space manager said with a smirk. If you succeed, you can go to the next level, but if you fail, you will be teleported out. Also, the difficulty of each level is determined by your strength. Usually, the higher your strength, the more difficult it is to pass. So I really don't think that you guys can pass all 10 levels in half a year, but this is good. Maybe you will have the chance to stay here with me, hee. I'm also quite lonely. The space manager was smiling very happily. However, its overjoyed laughter made the second elder and the others feel very uncomfortable. Every round was based on their strength. Didn't that mean that it was almost the same as the devil training? After all, the orcs they met in the devil training were on par with them. This fact made them extremely depressed. Right now they were well aware that this stage was definitely not easy to pass. In addition, this fantasy sky belonged to that wretched lass. Therefore, it would not be easy for them to leave this place. In fact, some elders were already certain that Lung Ruoxua was trying to mess with them. Otherwise, why would she make the opposite choice this time around? Last time, they would be teleported out when the time was up or they died 3 times. This time, they had to pass all 10 levels when the time was up, or they would have to stay in there and be punished. As long as they thought of the unknown punishment, their hearts would be filled with panic. Alright. I've already told you everything you need to know. Is there anything you don't understand? Seeing that no one said anything for a long time, the space manager could only continue to talk to himself. We understand. Can we start now? Feng De said impatiently. Yes. Hee. If you want to start, just go through the door on the left. Don't go through the door on the right. That's the path leading to the 3-layered domain, and it's even more dangerous there. If you're not careful, your soul will be scattered. So you must be careful. The space manager reminded him with a sinister smile. Thank you for the reminder. We will remember it. Feng De said gratefully. I like polite children go. I'll protect you. The space manager said very kindly. We're going in. Feng De was the first to enter the door on the left, followed by Lung Qingtian and the others. Seeing that Feng De and the others had almost left, the second elder then said to the other elders, Let's go in too. They couldn't be looked down upon by others. And the elders nodded. They only had half a year's time, and their future was uncertain, so they really couldn't afford to waste this time. After that, the elders entered one by one. The room they were in was a small space, less than 50 square meters. There were no decorations inside and it was very empty. After the second elder entered, he first observed the surrounding environment, but did not find any abnormalities. Moreover, this space was so small that one could see the end of it at a glance. It was not shrouded in fog, so one could see everything clearly. He stood in the space in a daze, not knowing what to do. After a long time, everything was still normal. Thanks, the second elder sighed softly, and sat on the ground casually. After an unknown period of time, the second elder, who had been resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his bright eyes and looked around vigilantly. He heard a sound that sounded like the wind, but he was not sure because the sound of the wind was different from what he knew. Just as the second elder was feeling extremely puzzled, suddenly, a gust of wind whistled through the air. The wind seemed to fill the entire space, and lightning as thick as a baby's arm was mixed in the wind. The dark gray hurricane was filled with electric sparks as it bared its fangs and brandished its claws at the second elder. The second elder was shocked and immediately calmed his mind. The next second, the hurricane drowned him. In the wind, the second elder controlled his boat's balance as he dodged to the left and to the right to block the lightning attacks. The lightning came from the center of the storm, where there were countless lightning clouds. However, their attacks were very orderly, and they were shot out from the center of the lightning clouds in an orderly manner. Fortunately, the wind was not an attack. Even so, if one was not careful, the person in the wind would be swept into the center of the lightning. If that happened, they would either die or be injured. The wind accompanied by lightning wreaked havoc on the second elder's body for a long time before he reluctantly left. Then the voice of the space manager sounded in the space. "Old man, you've passed the first test." When the second elder heard this voice, he finally felt relieved. At this moment, the second elder was both mentally and physically exhausted. After a long time of being under high pressure and tension, he fell to the ground. At this time, his clothes were already drenched in sweat. His entire body was in a sorry state. He was covered in wounds, and blood was flowing out of them. "Do you want to continue with the second stage?" After a long while, the space manager asked. "No. I want to rest," the second elder said in an extremely weak voice. With his current physical condition, continuing to challenge the levels would only be courting death. They didn't expect the second realm to be like this. They didn't have a real sparring partner, and their opponent was the mysterious power of nature. He didn't know how long it took him to pass the first level, but he knew how much he had paid. He didn't even have a chance to attack, but just dodging the omnipresent lightning had consumed almost all of his divine power. Fortunately, he had passed this level in the end. Otherwise, he would have been depressed to death. "All right," the space manager said. Then, a bright light transported the second elder out. After returning to his original place, the second elder immediately sat down cross-legged to regulate his breathing and seized the time to absorb the spiritual chi in the space. Fortunately, the spiritual chi here was still quite dense, otherwise he would have been depressed to death. Actually, he could have taken a pill to replenish his divine power. However, he had run out of his stock during the hellish training, and he had only bought a bottle from Lung Wuxia. Hence, he could not bear to take it. Now that he thought about it, he really regretted it. If he was like Cheng Xian, buying a few hundred bottles, he could continue to break through the levels. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world, so he could only accept his fate. The only thing he could pray for now was that he would be able to complete all 10 stages within half a year. Not long after the second elder came out of the trial space, more people were sent out one after another. Moreover, the people who were sent out were all elders of the Ning family, and each of them had a bloody wound on their body. This fact made the second elder, and the others very depressed. "Second elder, why are we the only ones out? Where are Fengda and the others?" The 19th elder asked with a pale face. The anger in his heart was rising. "They haven't come out yet," the second elder said in a low voice. He was the first person to come out from inside. "We've already been transported out. How could they not have come out after so long?" 19th elder's face was filled with doubt. "Fuck. Could there be something fishy going on?" 19th elder, how many levels did you pass? The second elder ignored the 19th elder's words and changed the topic. "I've passed 2 stages and the 3rd stage has been sent out." The 19th elder said gloomily. "I've only passed 1 level." The second elder couldn't help but ask. Chapter 1660. I don't wish to speak to you. 1. How is this possible? 19th Elder had a look of disbelief. What's impossible? I'm a reverent God, and this stage alone almost used up all my divine power. The 2nd Elder said gloomily. 2nd Elder, what are you going to do next? The 19th Elder said worriedly. In fact, his result was not much better than the 2nd Elder's. After 2 rounds, he did not have much Shin power left. Going to the 3rd round was just to explore the way. Of course we have to go through the stages one by one. However, I am more worried about our Shin power. We only have half a year's time. If we don't make good use of it, who knows what kind of punishment we will receive next? The 2nd Elder said worriedly. AI. Who said it wasn't he? Why don't we buy some pills from young Master Chung? The 19th Elder suggested. Will he sell it? The 2nd Elder was not too sure. He'll definitely sell it. Our 2 families have been friends for generations. He can't just leave us in the lurch. The 19th Elder said with absolute certainty. Their time was tight, and their tasks were heavy, especially in the later stages of the trial, which would be even more difficult. Therefore, they had no time to slowly absorb spiritual qi. Therefore, pills that could quickly recover divine power became their first choice. The reason why he was so sure that Cheng Xian would definitely sell the pills to them, other than the fact that the 2 families were friends for generations, was also because Cheng Xian had 10 years to pass the trials here, unlike them, who were pressed for time. Then we'll ask him after he comes out. The 2nd Elder said softly. He was not as confident as the 19th Elder. After all, Cheng Xian also needed pills to replenish his divine power, even though he was not in as much of a hurry as they were. Yes. 19th Elder nodded and calculated how many pills he had to buy to pass the 10 rounds. However, after waiting for a long time, Cheng Xian still had not come out of the trial space. A month had already passed. During this time, the 2nd Elder had completed the 2nd stage, while the 19th Elder and the others had also passed the 3rd stage. The difficulty of each of the 10 trials was greater than the previous one. Now, some of the elders were already feeling extremely strained, and this was only the beginning. As the elders watched anxiously, another month passed. The 2nd Elder, who was the most powerful among them, had only passed the 3rd level. The other elders were stuck at the 5th level. 2nd Elder, there are 3 more months before our deadline is up. None of these people have come out yet. This is really infuriating. Did something happen to them inside? In the dusky space, the 19th Elder said with a crow's mouth. Don't talk nonsense. This place was created by Lung Ruoxue. How could she watch her subordinate get into an accident? The 2nd Elder quickly rebuked. What's wrong? Does the 19th Elder really want us to meet with an accident? All of a sudden, Feng Die's voice entered their ears. The 19th Elder was shocked. Fuck. They didn't come out earlier or later, but why did they come out when he said this? Moreover, they actually came out together. How could he believe that there was nothing fishy going on between them and that wretched girl? I didn't mean it that way. I'm just a little worried about you guys. The 19th Elder said awkwardly. Although he suspected that they were lying, he could only accept his fate. There's no need to worry about us. 19th Elder, you should worry more about yourself. You don't have much time left. Feng De said with a smirk. After hearing Feng Die's words, all the elders present were livid with anger. What did he mean by their time was running out? Although they understood that Feng De was referring to the time limit of their trials, what Feng De said did not sound right to them. Thanks W. What are you saying? The 19th Elder said in a slightly displeased tone. The other elders could bear it, but he couldn't. What did I say? Feng De looked surprised, as if he didn't understand why 19th Elder was angry. He looked at him innocently. You said we don't have much time. We're alive and well. How can we not have much time left? The 19th Elder roared. Just because of this small matter. 19th Elder, you're thinking too much. I didn't say that you're dying. What I meant was that the time for your trial is almost up. I'm just worried for you. Feng De said, feeling wronged. Humph. After hearing Feng Die's explanation, 19th Elder turned his head to the other side proudly, not looking at him. Seeing this, Fengde did not want to be snubbed, so he led Lin Yuan and the others to find a corner to sit down. However, as soon as they sat down, 19th elder came over. Young Master Cheng, what took you so long? The 19th elder looked at Cheng Xian and said very kindly, I've been challenging the levels, so they should be as well. Cheng Xian replied honestly. Although he didn't know what the 19th elder's intentions were, good children shouldn't lie. Then which level did you pass? The 19th elder asked in surprise. It's time for the 8th trial. Cheng Xian chuckled, his face full of joy. He had not expected that he would be able to pass all 7 trials in one go. However, the 8th trial would not be easy to pass. What? The 19th elder was shocked, and his expression became uglier. He didn't expect Cheng Xian to reach the 8th level. Cheng Xian had stayed in the trial space for so long and passed 8 levels in a row. He should have eaten a lot of pills to replenish his divine power. Did he still have any? At this moment, 19th elder was feeling a little uncertain. Are you very surprised, 19th elder? They're almost at the 8th level, and Fengde is on the 9th. Cheng Xian pointed at Fengde and the others with a puzzled look. Of course we're surprised. Most of our elders have only passed the 4th level. The 2nd elder, who is the most powerful among us, has only passed the 3rd level so far. The 19th elder was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. This was really infuriating. The speed at which Cheng Xian and the others had cleared the stage was almost twice as fast as them. This result had greatly hurt their self-esteem. So that's how it is. However, you don't have to worry too much. After all, your strength is there for all to see. It's only a matter of time before he passes all 10. Cheng Xian consoled her with a face full of sympathy. At this moment, he was starting to suspect that Lung Ruoxue was intentionally pranking these elders. However, Lung Ruoxue wouldn't be that bored. Would she? But we don't have much time. The 19th elder said pitifully with a bitter face. 19th elder, you said it yourself this time. You don't have much time left. Fengde interjected with an evil smile after hearing the 19th elder's words. I'm talking to young Master Cheng. It's none of your business. Don't interrupt. The 19th elder said in an unpleasant tone. It's fine if you don't want to say it, but don't beg us to say it in the future. Fengde said with a smile. Do you think I'll beg you to speak? Stop daydreaming. 19th elder had a disdainful look on his face, as if Fengde had just said a big joke. Chapter 1661. I don't wish to speak to you too. Brothers, remember this. 19th elder won't beg us to speak again. Fengde said to Lin Yuan and the others with a smile. Don't worry, Captain, we will remember this. Lin Yuan and the others were very cooperative, while Lung Qingtian and the others stood by the side and watched coldly. Seeing that Fengde and the others had shut their mouths, the 19th elder smiled and said to Cheng Xian, Young Master Cheng, we want to discuss something with you. If there's anything you need, just tell me. As long as it's within my capabilities, I'll do my best. Cheng Xian said very happily, but he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. It seems that they have a favor to ask of him. He just didn't know what it was. Young Master Cheng, didn't you buy a lot of pills from Lung Ruoxue? We're willing to buy some of the pills from you at the original price. You know that we're short on time. If we can't pass the 10 trials in half a year, we'll be punished, so please give us some of them. We don't want much, just half of them will do. The 19th elder pretended to be pitiful. He had carefully thought about this number, and he felt that it was within Cheng Xian's acceptable range. After all, if he wanted too much, Cheng Xian would definitely not agree. 19th elder. Although I've bought a lot of pills from this great aunt, the reason why I was able to pass the 7 stages was all because of those pills. Now I don't have many pills in my hand, and I still have 2 bottles each for the last 3 stages. So I'm really sorry, I'm afraid I can't help you. Cheng Xian said, embarrassed. You've actually eaten so many pills? 19th elder had a look of disbelief on his face. He had prepared for the worst, but he didn't expect Cheng Xian to only have 2 bottles left. Even if Cheng Xian sold them to them, there wouldn't be enough for them to split. Moreover, Cheng Xian still needed to use it for himself. Sigh. What was this good? Yup, Cheng Xian looked apologetic. Then he pointed at Feng De and the others and said, "Although I don't have many pills left, they should have quite a few." In fact, Cheng Xian did not have as few elixirs as he had said. However, he could not sell them to the 19th elder and the others because he was afraid that he would offend Feng De and the others if he did so. This was something he did not want to see. In fact, compared to the 19th elder and the others, he wanted to be on good terms with Feng De and the others more. "Do you have any extra pills?" After hearing Cheng Xian's words, the 19th elder asked Feng De and the others. However, Feng De and the others ignored him. Seeing this, 19th elder was furious. "Damn it. I'm asking you guys a question." The 19th elder roared. But still, no one paid him any attention. "You guys are going against me on purpose, aren't you?" 19th elder's eyes widened in anger as he questioned. At this time, Feng De slowly took out a pen and paper from his storage ring, and with a brush, shwa, whoosh, he wrote a few words on it and showed it to the 19th elder. On the paper was written, "You won't beg us to talk." When 19th elder saw this, he was so angry that he almost fainted. So these hateful guys were waiting for him here? He glared at Feng De fiercely, but Feng De was not moved at all. He even smiled at 19th elder in a friendly manner. In 19th elder's eyes, this was a blatant provocation. "I didn't speak to you just now, but now I'm asking you to speak." The 19th elder suppressed the anger in his heart and tried to calm himself down. However, after Feng De heard what he said, he still didn't say a word and wrote another line on the paper. "You want us to talk, so we should talk? That would be so embarrassing." Thanks. When 19th elder saw these words, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. However, he could tell that these people were really doing this on purpose. Cheng Xian, who was standing on the side, watched the exchange between Feng De and the 19th elder without a change in his expression. He was already laughing in his heart. Haha. Lung Ruoxia's subordinates were really good at angering people. However, this could only be considered 19th elder's bad luck. He had actually offended them. It seemed like his idea of befriending Feng De and the others was not just a wise one. He was full of admiration for himself. At this moment, the 19th elder, who had calmed down for a moment, took a few deep breaths and tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart. He tried his best to speak in a friendly manner. "What do you want?" The 19th elder was at his wit's end. Moreover, on account of the pills in their hands, he would not argue with them, even though he felt very aggrieved. "We don't want anything." Feng De wrote on the paper. "Damn it. You guys better talk." The 19th elder couldn't help but shout. After shouting, he began to regret his impulsiveness. What if Feng De and the others didn't want to sell them the pills because of this? You're not my lady, you can't order us around." Feng De didn't give him any face and replied on the paper. "I'm begging you, can you please speak?" 19th elder was depressed, but he couldn't do anything to Feng De, who was like a pain in the ass. "Are we daydreaming?" Feng De turned to ask Lin Yuan and the others. "It should be." Lin Yuan and the rest nodded in agreement. "Oh, then just ignore it," Feng De said with a smile. "You." 19th elder pointed at Feng De and the others, his body trembling. Seeing that the incompetent 19th elder had suffered a loss in silence in front of Feng De and the others, the second elder couldn't stand it anymore. He walked over and said straightforwardly, "Do you have any extra pills? If you do, please sell us some." The second elder's attitude was very good, and he looked at Feng De and the others with a hint of anticipation. However, Feng De and the others didn't talk to him, and directly wrote on the paper, "We have all the pills, but we don't want to sell them to you." Seeing this line of words, the second elder was extremely depressed. He couldn't help but glare at the 19th elder. It was all this old thing's fault. Now he was bearing a grudge. "Feng De, I'm also Lung Ruoxia's bodyguard now. You guys can't bear to see me trapped here forever, right? We only have 3 months left. You can't just leave us in the lurch." The second elder played the emotional card. "Don't try to get close, we're not close." Feng De scribbled on the paper. These words made the second elder even more depressed. Sob. It seemed that they were really angered by the 19th elder. That damn troublemaker, He didn't pay attention to his words usually, and now he had angered him at a critical moment. What should they do? The more he thought about it, the more worried he became. His brows were even furrowed together. After thinking for a long time, the second elder said, Fengda, don't be like this. Even if you don't give me face, you should at least give face to our family head, right? He was Lung Ruoxia's godfather. If we're all trapped here, it'll be a huge loss for the Ning family. Chapter 1662. I don't wish to speak to you three. Master Ning will understand. Fengda replied indifferently on the paper. What do you want us to do before you speak? The second elder sighed and said helplessly, I don't want to talk to you. Fengda wrote, Don't be like this. You guys really can't just leave him in the lurch. The second elder was so anxious that he almost cried. He was the most powerful among them, and the one who had passed the least number of trials. Therefore he was the most afraid and the most anxious one. However, the 19th elder had offended Fengda and the others, and now they were all resenting him. This was absolutely an undeserved disaster for him. However, the second elder's words had no effect on Fengda and the others. They even turned their heads impatiently. When the second elder saw this, he could only put down his old face and walk to Fengda's side. He pulled on Fengda's sleeve and looked at Fengda with tears in his eyes. He did not speak for a long time. The second elder's move made Fengda and the others' jaws drop. Fuck. What was the second elder trying to do? If he wanted to act pitiful, then so be it. But what was this? Was he begging them or trying to scare them? It was just that they had a strong mental capacity. Otherwise, who would be responsible if they were frightened? However, the other elders of the Ning family were truly frightened. Their faces were full of fear, looking at the second elder as if they had seen a ghost. No one had thought that the always proud second elder would go to such an extent for a few pills. Although the second elder had done this for them, it was still too scary. Fengda, you talk to me. After a long while, the second elder, who was tugging on Fengda's sleeve, pleaded with a slightly choked voice. All right. I'm scared of you. Fengda said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Then can you sell us some pills? The second elder struck while the iron was hot. Fuck. He had sacrificed his image in exchange for this opportunity. Therefore he had to catch it. It's not that I can't sell you pills, but the price can't be 10 top-grade crystals. Fengda thought for a while and said. In fact, he was extremely depressed in his heart. They had persisted for so long and ignored these Ning family elders, but they actually surrendered under the second elder's disregard for their image. However, it seemed to be worth it to see the second elder's shameless side. Hee. I knew you're the best. The second elder praised him happily. Second elder. Watch your tone. If you continue like this, I'm going to go back on my word. Fengda's hair stood on end as he shivered. All right then. The second elder knew when to stop. Then he said in a serious tone. How much are you planning to sell the pills you have? 50 top-grade crystals for a bottle. Fengda asked for an exorbitant price without holding back. What? You're robbing me. Before the second elder could express his opinion, the 19th elder immediately stomped his feet when he heard the price. You don't have to buy it if you think it's expensive. I don't have to sell it to you. Fengda rolled his eyes at the 19th elder. 19th elder. You shut up. At this time, the second elder was a little anxious as he reprimanded him. He was very afraid that the 19th elder would ruin their plans. What if Fengda and the others were angry and refused to sell it to them? What should they do? After being lectured, 19th elder shut his mouth unwillingly. However, his eyes were filled with dissatisfaction at the price. However, he was being ignored by everyone. That 50 top-grade crystals is a bit expensive. Can you make it cheaper? After reprimanding the 19th elder, the second elder turned to discuss with Fengda. One must know that Lung Ruoxia's small bottle only had 10 small and exquisite pills. Based on the quality of those pills, it was not a loss to sell them for 10 pieces of top-grade crystals. However, the current price was 4 times the original price. With this, they felt a little unbalanced in their hearts. This price is very fair, no room for discussion. Feng De said with a nonchalant expression. Previously, Lung Wuxia sold it to us for 10 top-grade crystals per bottle. Now you're actually selling it for 4 times the price? This is a little too much. The seventh elder said very implicitly. His words also represented the inner thoughts of all the elders present. This price was too high. You also said that it was before. When Miss wanted to sell it to you, you only bought a little. Now that it's not enough, you want to buy it from me. I'm willing to sell it to you, but don't forget where this place is. Other than us. Is there anyone else who can sell you a pill? Feng De warned him very seriously and put on a disapproving attitude. Although Feng De's words were unpleasant to the ears of the elders, it was the truth. Before they came in, they had the opportunity to buy more pills. However, because they could not bear to part with it and they were a little resentful, they only bought a little symbolically. Now they really regretted it. 50 top-grade crystals, no bargaining, do you want it? Feng De couldn't help but ask when he saw that they didn't give any suggestions for a long time. Thanks, of course we want it, but we don't have that much money with us. The seventh elder spoke the thoughts of the other elders. This was also one of the reasons why they found it expensive. It doesn't matter. You can write me an IOU, and if you can't pay it back, it'll go to your family's head to pay the debt. With your Ning family's reputation, I believe you won't renege on the debt. Feng De chuckled. Fuck. Another IOU. Did these people have money in their eyes? Lung Wuxia had said before that if they had no money, they could write an IOU. Now that these words came out of Feng De's mouth, they were extremely depressed. Could it be that they were destined to live their days in debt? This fact almost made them collapse. Actually, you don't have to be embarrassed. Who in this world doesn't have a time when they're short of money? Owing a debt wasn't something to lose face about. Haven't you heard of the saying? The one in debt was the master. These days, the most terrifying thing is to be in debt. If you weren't a member of the Ning family, we wouldn't have allowed you to write an IOU. So, you don't have to worry. As long as you pay off the money, we won't let anyone know about this, but if someone intends to renege on the debt, then don't blame us for being ruthless. We'll definitely make the matter of someone reneging on the debt public. At that time, the debtor won't only lose his own face, but also the Ning family's face. Feng De warned in a half-joking manner. His words made all the elders look at each other. Although they didn't show it on their faces, they secretly communicated with each other through voice transmission. After a while, the elders finally came to an agreement. Let's write an IOU. The second elder sighed and said with a straight face. No problem. Feng De nodded and gave Lin Yuan and the rest a look. Lin Yuan and the rest understood, and took out the prepared paper and pen from their storage rings, placing them in front of the second elder and the rest. Seeing that Feng De and the others seemed to be prepared, the elders were secretly upset. However, they couldn't do anything to the other party. It was Jiang Taigong who hooked the fish, and those who were willing to take the bait. No matter how unwilling they were in their hearts, one was willing to be hit, and the other was willing to suffer. Write down the amount and the name of the things you want to buy. 50 top-grade crystals per bottle. Don't make a mistake in your calculation. It's limited to 100 bottles. Feng De reminded the second elder before they started writing. When the elders heard Feng De's words, they were so angry that their eyes widened. Miscalculate? They weren't that stupid, okay? At the thought of this, all the elders quickly wrote down the amount, name, and amount that Feng De had requested. Feng De and the others saw that they had finished writing, and after checking them one by one, they took out the pills from their storage rings and handed them over. After the elders received it, they opened the bottle cap in unison to check it. Immediately, everyone's face revealed a happy expression. Although the price of these medicinal pills was a little expensive, with the help of these medicinal pills, they were more confident in clearing the round. Especially the impatient second elder. After eating a divine power replenishing pill, he couldn't wait to return to the trial space. Seeing this, the other elders also followed suit and continued to break through. After they all left, Cheng Xian smiled and said to Feng De and the others, "You guys have earned a lot of money this time. Shouldn't you treat me to a meal? Young Master Cheng, you're satisfied with just one meal?" Feng De raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile. am not asking for much. A meal is enough. Cheng Xian said as he secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. I didn't expect your request to be so simple. I was going to give you a big gift. Since you only want to have a meal, then I'll save it. Feng De said with a smirk. What gift are you giving me? Cheng Xian's face was filled with curiosity. You don't want it anyway, so it's better if you don't know. Feng De kept him in suspense mysteriously. Don't be like this. We're friends. Cheng Xian's face was bitter as he said with hidden bitterness. Even blood brothers should settle accounts clearly. Feng De said stubbornly. Wu. Cheng Xian was depressed. His starry eyes were fixed on Feng De, but Feng De didn't fall for it. Let's continue our training. We'll continue later. Feng De ignored Cheng Xian's bitter expression and turned to the others. Lin Yuan and the rest nodded in cooperation. Then they sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. Chapter 1663. Mrs. Here 2-1. At this time, the second elder and the others had already begun to break through the levels. With the elixirs in their hands, they were more confident in breaking through the levels. After a month, all the elders, including the second elder, had passed the 8th level. They had also passed the 9th level several times, but they always returned without success and were stuck at the 9th level. Every level in the trial space was formed by strong gales and lightning. In the first level, only one lightning bolt would be shot out from the lightning ball in the center of the gales, but from the second level onwards, the number of lightning bolts would increase exponentially with each level passed. Not only that, the speed of the lightning attacks would also increase, so the difficulty would also increase. The second elder and the others had consumed countless medicinal pills to pass the 8th level in a month. However, they could not pass the 9th level no matter what. This made them feel depressed. If the 9th level was already so difficult to pass, they did not even dare to imagine how difficult the 10th level would be. However, it was fortunate that they still had 2 months' time, so they still had confidence. In the dusky space, the second elder and the others were sitting cross-legged on the ground. The 19th elder was pacing back and forth, mumbling to himself as he walked. The noise made the second elder open his eyes unwillingly. Are you done? Don't disturb us, go to the side. The second elder rolled his eyes at the 19th elder and said in an unpleasant tone. Second elder, I'm just feeling frustrated. 19th elder felt extremely wronged. He was also thinking of a way. At this moment, Feng De and the others had gone to challenge the 9th level. They were also stuck there and had spent a month without any progress. When he thought of himself, he felt deeply touched. At this time, he seemed to have forgotten the grudges with Feng De and the others. He just wanted to think of a way to leave this damn place as soon as possible. Fortunately, they did not lose their memories this time. Otherwise, they would have lost their memories as they did during the devil training. They would be depressed to death. Have you thought of any good ideas? The second elder lifted his eyelids and said indifferently. Not yet. 19th elder lowered his head in embarrassment. Then why don't you just stay at the side? You're making us dizzy. The second elder roared in anger. Oh, yes, 19th elder answered fearfully, then went to find a place to sit. At this moment, Leng Qingtian, Leng Ruhan, Feng De, and Lin Yuan walked out of the trial space with joy on their faces. Seeing their expressions, the elders were bewildered. Could they have passed the 9th level? Qingtian, have you guys passed the 9th level? The second elder asked in a friendly manner. He had a good relationship with Leng Qingtian and the others. However, because of his ancestor, he did not dare to act like an elder in front of them. Although he was much older than them, in terms of seniority, even their ancestor was not as high as them, let alone him. Fortunately, they were all in their own right. We're pretty lucky to have passed the 9th level. However, the 10th level won't be easy. After Leng Qingshan's joy faded, he felt a slight headache. You guys tried the last stage? The second elder could not help but ask. I went to try. I was completely killed in seconds. Leng Qingtian said with lingering fear. What's the last test like? At this time, the 7th elder couldn't help but interrupt. Thanks, it's full of lightning. The smallest one is as thick as a bucket. We were instantly killed when we went in. I really don't know how to pass this last test. Leng Qingtian said helplessly. A trial space filled with lightning? All the elders were speechless. What kind of game was this? Could it be that he wanted to keep them here forever? One had to know that they only had 2 months left. Yup. Elders were going to start cultivating. Good luck. After Leng Qingtian finished speaking, he brought Leng Ruhan, Fengde, and Lin Yuan back to their original seats to cultivate. While they were cultivating, Cheng Xian and the others came out of the trial space one after another. The elders also entered the trial space to pass the trials day and night without stopping. Among them, the first to pass the 9th trial was the second elder, who was the strongest. However, the last trial made the second elder frown. There was only a month left before their deadline. At this time, most of the elders had also passed the 9th level, but the last level stumped everyone. Second elder. Our time limit is almost up. If we can't get through this last obstacle, who knows what kind of punishment is waiting for us? What should we do? The 7th elder said gloomily. They were all frowning in the gray safe space. However, Fengde and the others were much more relaxed in comparison. After all, they had 10 years. And now it had not even been a year. Sob. They were so regretful. If they had known this would happen, they would have chosen the option with the longest lifespan. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Leng Ruoxue had not informed them of the situation here in advance, causing them to be too smart for their own good, and make the wrong decision. Now that they thought about it, could they blame her? It was because they were afraid that she would have bad intentions, so they wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. You're asking me, but who should I ask? I can't even stay in this last trial space for long, let alone break through it. The second elder said in a bad mood. At this moment, he was extremely depressed. He had gone to the last stage several times, but the longest time he stayed was only 10 minutes before he was teleported out. He really didn't know which of them would be able to pass the last test. At the thought of this, he shifted his gaze to Leng Qingtian and the others. Qingtian, do you have any good ideas? The second elder asked expectantly. Second elder. We can't do anything about it. The last level is an instant kill for us. Leng Qingtian said helplessly. They had entered the training space for the last stage countless times. Each time, they had to stand and lie down. They couldn't even last a minute. Why don't we discuss this together? The second elder said after some thought. All right. Leng Qingtian nodded in agreement. There might be a good solution if they put their heads together. Just like that, the two parties sat down and began to discuss. As time went by, they came up with countless solutions and tried them out personally, but they all ended in failure. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue and the demon were also in the middle of the final stage. Not long after Fengde, the second elder, and the rest entered, Leng Ruoxue and the demon entered the second-tier domain of the illusionary sky. However, they went to another space in the illusionary sky. As the master of the fantasy sky, Leng Ruoxue had this special privilege. Hence, after they entered, the space manager had prepared a separate safe space for them. With the support of powerful pills, Leng Ruoxue and the demon managed to clear the first 9 levels in the shortest time possible. Right now they were struggling in the last level. Chapter 1664. Miss is here too. Although the two of them were in 2 separate training spaces, it was as if their hearts were connected and they knew everything about each other. This fact made the two of them extremely surprised. In the ultimate trial space, Leng Ruoxue was surrounded by lightning. Her body was already riddled with wounds, but she refused to give up and enjoyed the baptism of the lightning. Thousands of dark purple lightning bolts struck her body. Finally, the rule of the trial space was that from the starting point of the space, walking to the other side of the space was considered a success. In other words, the person who wanted to break through the space had to withstand the attack of the lightning. This required the person to have an extremely strong defense, otherwise he would only be killed by the lightning in seconds. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue had already relied on her insane defensive equipment and the green vessel's defense to cover 1/3 of the distance with great difficulty. However, if she could not continue, then all this would have been for nothing. This was because this was not the first time she had covered this distance. She had passed the last level dozens of times, and was always sent out with her last breath. This time, she didn't know if the result would be better. In the ultimate space, other than the frenzied lightning, there was also a huge pressure. This pressure was also one of the reasons why it was so difficult for Lung Ruoxue to walk. However, just as Lung Ruoxue was carefully walking around the trial space, a white lightning bolt that was only as thick as a pinky finger suddenly shot out from the lightning cloud and headed straight for her. In an instant, the small white lightning hit her body at a speed that she could not catch up with. She did not even have time to take a healing pill before she was directly transported out. Seeing this, she knew that she had failed this time. Lung Ruoxue, who had been teleported out, was immediately pulled into the demon's arms the moment she reached the safe space. Looking at Lung Ruoxue, who was covered in wounds and blood, the evildoer's heart ached. "Shui, how did you get so badly injured this time?" The demon asked unhappily. In his heart, he was cursing the space manager. That damn guy, he actually dared to be so cruel to his own master. Humph. It would be best if he didn't have the chance to see the space spirit, otherwise he would definitely beat him up. Fortunately, the space manager couldn't hear his inner thoughts, otherwise he would definitely cry out that he was wronged, because although he was the manager of this second-layer domain, but the difficulty of the trial space was not controlled by him. The only thing he could do was to transfer the people who were still breathing out, and this was only for fear that they would die inside. However, the space manager in the control room still felt a hint of danger, and couldn't help but sneeze. He thought to himself, "Who is scolding me?" Looking at the scene on the screen, the space manager's face was full of fear. Oh, Master is so pitiful. He was actually injured so badly? What should he do? Although it was the space manager, it could not help its master to pass the trial. Therefore, it could only watch helplessly. When it saw its master's scarred face, it was a little frightened. However, it was powerless, unless the master gave up on the challenge and came out on his own. However, only Lung Ruoxue, as the host, had the right to do so. The others could only leave this place after clearing all the levels. In the safe space, Lung Ruoxue felt the evildoer's deep concern, and her heart felt warm. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Lung Ruoxue, who was in the arms of the evildoer, said weakly, "You're still fine? You're already so badly injured." The demon frowned and said with a dark face, "Thanks, just take a pill." Lung Ruoxue smiled to comfort her. However, she accidentally pulled on the wounds on her body and it hurt so much that she could not help but frown. "It hurts, right?" Seeing the slight change in Lung Ruoxue's expression, the demon asked worriedly. After he finished speaking, he quickly took out a healing pill and stuffed it into Lung Ruoxue's mouth. After taking the pill, Lung Ruoxue immediately wanted to challenge the next round after her injuries had healed. However, she was held back by the demon. "You stay here obediently. You're not allowed to attempt the last stage," the demon said in a domineering manner. "How can we get out if we don't charge in? Don't tell me you want to be trapped here?" Lung Ruoxue chuckled. "There's nothing bad about staying here. At least there aren't so many third wheels coming to snatch you away from me." The demon didn't fall for the trick. Instead, he was very excited. He felt that Shui Er's suggestion was very good. But we can't stay here forever," Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. At the same time, she was secretly thinking to herself that it was a good thing that she did not tell the demon that she could leave at any time. Otherwise, the demon might ask her to leave now. But there's no rush. If we can't get out, the others can't either. What are you afraid of? The demon said disapprovingly. He was not in a hurry anyway. Even though Lung Ruoxue knew that the demon's words made sense, she couldn't praise him. Otherwise, she believed that this fellow would definitely be so proud that he would raise his tail. "Shui, take a good rest before you go to the last stage. Otherwise, I won't let you go. At most, we'll just stay inside forever." Seeing that Shui didn't say anything, the demon tried to persuade her. "All right then. I'll listen to you." Lung Ruoxue nodded her head and laid in the arms of the evildoer with a peace of mind. The demon hugged Lung Ruoxue tightly, His heart was so beautiful that it was about to float. At this time in the dusky space, the second elder and the others were still trying to break through the last stage. However, the space manager could not stand it anymore and had to show up to give them some guidance. You idiots! I really don't know how you guys passed the first few stages. The space manager's voice rang in everyone's ears, and suddenly, everyone's foreheads were filled with black lines. Were they being scolded? What right did this damn space manager have to scold them? Everyone couldn't figure it out. If they couldn't pass the last level, they would still be scolded. No one could stand such treatment. What right do you have to scold us? The furious 19th elder roared back. Because you're too stupid. This last stage is different from the previous stages. The defense of this last stage is very important. Your defense is somewhat mediocre, so it's natural that you'll find it difficult to move an inch in this last stage. The space manager also roared, "Humph! Who didn't know how to compete in volume? As the manager of this space, would he be afraid of them? Then what should we do?" The 19th elder said, a little dumbfounded. In the first few levels, as long as they dodged the lightning attacks and waited for the attacks to disappear, they would be considered to have passed. However, not only did the lightning in the last level not disappear, but it was gathering more and more. They were killed in a few seconds. How were they supposed to clear the stage? At this moment, there was less than a month left until the deadline for them to complete the 10th level. When he thought of this fact, he felt as if his heart had been stabbed by a knife. Chapter 1665. Miss is here too 3. Of course it's to strengthen your defense. By the way, you have to walk from the starting point to the end to pass the last round. Just think about how long you'll be in there. Haha. After the space manager finished speaking, he left behind an extremely wild laugh and disappeared again. After the second elder and the others heard the words of the space manager, they were even more depressed. Fuck. How did this happen? Wasn't he playing them to death? One had to know that their time limit was almost up. And if they still couldn't pass the last level, they didn't dare to imagine the consequences. Seeing their worry, Lung Qingtian couldn't help but comfort them. Second elder. Don't worry too much. We'll make it through the last stage. Don't worry. Fuck. Of course you're not in a hurry. You still have 9 years to waste here. We're not in a hurry. Lung Qingshan's words infuriated 19th elder even more. He was about to go crazy from the pressure. As soon as he finished speaking, Fengde and the others immediately glared at him. Even the second elder and the others looked at him disapprovingly. After all, he was comforting them out of good intentions. However, this 19th elder had actually opened his mouth and scolded them. This was a little too much. Damn it. Who are you scolding? Fengde shouted with his eyes wide open. Those who dared to scold their people really didn't want to live. If the young miss knew about this, they would definitely suffer. 19th elder's face was red and he was at a loss for words. In fact, he regretted it after shouting, but he couldn't take back the words he had said. Qingtian. 19th elder didn't do it on purpose, he's just under too much pressure. Please don't lower yourself to his level. The second elder quickly tried to smooth things over, but in his heart he was cursing the 19th elder, who only knew how to ruin things. Yup. I'm sorry. I was just too anxious so I didn't scold anyone. The 19th elder received the second elder's gaze, and quickly tried to salvage the situation. However, Irin and Fengde didn't give him a good look. I understand. However, at a time like this, it's all the more important to remain calm. Being anxious won't solve the problem. Lung Qingtian said in an understanding manner. In fact, he was quite depressed. He just wanted to comfort them, but who knew that 19th elder would take it as sarcastic remarks. Now it seemed that he was being meddlesome. They were the elders of the Ning family, why would he need to worry about them? And the second elder and the others nodded. They all understood this logic. However, if it really fell on them, they would probably not be able to calm down. I think your mental endurance is still too weak, and you lack training. Fengde said. However, no one dared to respond to him. Seeing that the elders had stopped talking, Fengde was too lazy to pay attention to them. He sat down and closed his eyes to cultivate. Seeing this, the others followed suit. For a time the atmosphere of Fengde and the others' cultivation was high. Compared to them, the second elder and the others' side was lifeless and depressed. Seeing that the deadline was getting closer and closer, the hearts of the second elder and the others also became heavier. As the days passed, they still couldn't think of a way to break through the barrier. However, this way they were desperate. Since they couldn't succeed, they had to prepare for punishment. Besides, this was a good lesson for them. They would learn from their mistakes and pay more attention in the future. After thinking this way, the elders all calmed down. Thanks, in fact, they had no choice but to open it. The time was getting closer and closer, but they were at their wits' end, so they could only accept their fate. Half a year had just passed when the space manager's voice rang in everyone's ears again. The half-year time limit is up. You've all failed. Hearing this voice, all the elders had bitter faces and drooped their heads listlessly. They knew that they would soon know what the punishment was. Just as they had expected, the next second, the space manager said in a happy mood, "In view of your failure, the difficulty of the trials will be doubled. Furthermore, you will have to repass the first 9 trials. Until you pass the 10th level. By the way, what's the deal with that 19th elder? I have high hopes for you. I hope you can stay here and accompany me forever. Otherwise you'll be too lonely here. Although I've taken a fancy to you, I won't go easy on you." The space manager would not pay for it, because it really could not be merciful. Everything here had been set up in the beginning. Only its master, Wuxia, had the authority to modify it. Its greatest authority was to transport the participants out of the trial space when they were on their last breath. The space manager's words made the 19th elder's face turn black with anger, and he almost fainted. The other elders' faces were not very good either, because their failure had caused all their previous efforts to go to waste. How could they accept this? However, it was a good thing that they had not been chosen by the space manager. Otherwise, they would have been half dead from anger like the 19th elder. 19th elder, congratulations. I didn't expect you to have the fortune to be able to stay here forever. After hearing what the space manager said, Fengde held back his laughter and said, "Haha, this was karma." Now that the 19th elder was so smug, the space manager had his eyes on him, right? Who wants to stay here all the time? The 19th elder roared in anger. He was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. However, he was even angrier at Fengde's act of adding insult to injury. He was clearly waiting to see them make a fool of themselves. This was really too much. I know you all want to go out, but you can't. My family's young miss often says, since you're here, you should take things as they come. So you should all perform well here. You'll be released from prison one day. Fengde said with a smile. The 19th elder was rendered speechless by Fengde's words, while the second elder said gloomily, "Well, work hard. I'm going to break through the barrier." After saying that, the second elder turned around and entered the door of the trial space. "I'm going to." The 7th elder looked at the elders present and sighed. After working hard for more than half a year, they were back to square one. They had to start all over again. They had to hurry. After the 7th elder, the other elders also walked in with bitter faces. After a short while, other than Fengde and the others, only the 19th elder, who was so angry that his face was livid, did not move. 19th elder, why aren't you going to challenge the trial? Do you really want to stay here and accompany that space manager? You don't even know if that guy is a human or a beast. How dangerous is that? Fengde reminded him with a smile. What does it have to do with you? 19th elder said unhappily. After he finished speaking, he also turned around and walked into the door of the trial space in a huff. Chapter 1666. One-on-one Fight 1. After the elders left, Chengxian looked at Fengde with admiration and said with a fiery gaze, "Fengde, you're really amazing." With just a few words, he had angered the 19th elder half to death. "I'm impressed. Don't worship me. I'm just a legend," Fengde said arrogantly. In fact, he was angry with the 19th elder because he wanted to avenge Grandpa Lung. Grandpa Lung might not stoop to the level of 19th elder, but they couldn't just let it go. A legend. That's even more admirable. Cheng Xian said exaggeratedly. Hee. Young Master Cheng. Learn. Words are a sharp weapon that can kill people. Feng De said seriously. However, just as he finished speaking, Lung Qingtian hit him on the head. You little brat. I'll give you a good look. Why aren't you quickly challenging the levels? Lung Qingtian laughed as he scolded. Grandpa Lung. I can't make it now. Moreover, every stage here is based on our strength. If we keep cultivating here, I'm afraid the difficulty will be even greater. Feng De said with a troubled expression. They were in conflict now. Feng De's words made everyone think deeply. However, a voice rang out and woke them up. Idiot. I've said it before, the last stage is different from the previous 9 stages. The last stage is mainly about defense. Of course, strength is also very important. After all, the higher the strength, the stronger the defense. The space manager said with some disappointment. Isn't the last test supposed to be more difficult the more powerful you are? Feng De asked in a daze. The others were also confused. Could it be that they had fallen into a misunderstanding? Not exactly understand. With high strength, the difficulty will naturally be appropriately increased. However, if your strength is too low, it will definitely not be easy to pass. In any case, your final deadline is 10 years, so take your time to cultivate. After the space manager finished speaking, he laughed out loud. By the way, my master, your young lady is also in the middle of the last stage. Moreover, she has already passed more than half of the test. The space manager added, and then disappeared again. Young lady is here too? Feng De and the others were surprised. No one had expected that the young lady would also come to join in the fun. Moreover, she was seriously challenging the levels. In comparison, they felt inferior. After hearing this news, Feng De and the others were greatly encouraged, and they became even more motivated to cultivate. When the second elder and the others came out of the trial space again, they were greatly surprised to see their changes. Did something happen when they went to challenge the trial? This was because Feng De and the others' fighting spirit had become even higher, which made them puzzled. Seeing the second elder and the others' surprised gazes, Feng De said in an understanding manner. We have to work hard in our cultivation and try to pass the last stage as soon as possible. You're working hard on your cultivation. Could it be that you're still hoping to advance to Reverend God level here? The 19th elder scoffed at Feng De's words and was extremely disdainful. Thanks, 19th elder. You're really not the average kind of annoying person. Did I say that I wanted to advance to Reverend God level here? You're not even a Reverend God yet. If I were to become a Reverend God here, wouldn't you be so ashamed that you'd buy a piece of tofu and commit suicide? In fact, he quite liked to bicker with the 19th elder. Otherwise, he would be depressed to death in this boring place. You really have no upbringing. Don't you know how to respect the elderly? The 19th elder was so angry that he was speechless. It took him a long time to force out this sentence. 19th elder, where did you get the idea that I'm uneducated? Moreover, respecting the elderly also depended on the person. In front of my family's young miss, you're still a junior. When have you ever respected her? Hee. We naturally don't need to treat people who don't respect our family's young miss as humans. Feng De said venomously. His words angered 19th elder so much that he blew his beard and glared at him. However, he had nothing to say because what Feng De said was the truth. He did not take Lung Ruoxia too seriously. That's right. Anyone who disrespects my family's young miss is our enemy. Lin Yuan said as he shared a common enemy. When Cheng Xian saw Feng De and the others were so united, he could not help but laugh secretly. This 19th elder really had a bad memory. Every time, he was the one who jumped out to find fault first, and then he was humiliated by others until he had no place to hide. If he was the 19th elder, he would definitely want to buy a piece of tofu to commit suicide, as Feng De had said. 19th elder, you should come over and rest. We'll have to continue in a while. The second elder couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but say. This 19th elder was really getting more and more unimproving. He couldn't take advantage of Feng De and the others every time he confronted them, but he still liked to provoke them. She really didn't know what he was thinking. Wasn't this looking for abuse? When 19th Elder heard 2nd Elder's words, he glared at Feng De fiercely. Then, he walked resentfully to 2nd Elder's side and sat down cross-legged. He really needed a good rest. He was almost exhausted from the previous challenge. 2nd Elder. How many levels have you guys passed? 2nd Elder? Feng De turned to look at the 2nd Elder and asked curiously. The 2nd stage. The 2nd Elder's face was slightly red as he spoke in embarrassment. No way. You've been in there for so long and you've only made it to the 2nd stage? Feng Hai's face was filled with disbelief. It seemed like the punishment for failing to pass the stage was quite serious. They had to work hard. Otherwise, if they had to start from the beginning, he would be depressed to death. Yup, the 2nd Elder said, somewhat speechless. This fact made him quite depressed. Moreover, it wasn't because they wanted to slack off that they only made it to the 2nd stage. It was because every stage was too abnormal. The difficulty of the 2nd stage was now nearly 5 times higher than the previous one. Moreover, this was only the beginning. If this continued, he really couldn't imagine how long they would have to pass the next stage. The 2nd Elder. All the best, you guys. Feng De said with a look of sympathy. Ai. He had no choice but to do his best. I can't stay here forever. The 2nd Elder kept sighing gloomily. His mood could be said to be extremely low right now, but at the same time, the 2nd domain of the illusory sky had also aroused his fighting spirit. Good luck, but with the exception of the 19th Elder. Feng De said in an infuriating manner. Damn it. You. Feng De's words made 19th Elder want to jump up and down again. However, he had just shouted 2 words when he was stopped by 2nd Elder. 19th Elder. You better rest well. Shut up. The 2nd Elder shouted angrily. The 19th Elder was so scared that he became as obedient as a little rabbit. Seeing that someone was taking care of the 19th Elder, Feng De secretly laughed in his heart. He was doing this on purpose. He wanted to anger the 19th Elder, who asked him to be so annoying. 2nd Elder. Well, continue cultivating. After Feng De finished speaking, he closed his eyes and continued to regulate his breathing. Chapter 1667. One-on-one fight 2. Seeing him like this, 19th Elder couldn't help but mutter. No matter how hard you train, you won't be able to pass the last stage. Although his voice was soft, 2nd Elder and the others beside him could still hear him clearly. 2nd Elder glared at 19th Elder unhappily, and 19th Elder obediently shut his mouth. However, Feng De, who was resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at the 19th Elder with a faint smile. He said calmly, 19th Elder, we don't need you to worry about whether we can pass the last stage. You should worry about yourself. It's hard to say if you can get out. You, 19th Elder was so angry at Feng De that he couldn't speak. This fact made him extremely depressed. He had always thought that he was good with words. How did his mouth become stupid when he met Feng De and the others? This was truly too inconceivable. This result made him somewhat unable to accept. What about me? Be prepared to stay here and accompany that space manager. However, we'll come in to see you often. Feng De said with a smirk. Hee. I like this suggestion. Suddenly, the space manager's voice rang in everyone's ears again. I don't want to stay here. What's wrong? 19th Elder asked reflexively. This is not up to you. The space manager laughed wretchedly, his voice making one's hair stand on end and horrified. I'll definitely pass these 10 stages. The 19th Elder gritted his teeth and said with certainty. His face was livid with anger. I don't have high hopes for you. The space manager laughed evilly, his voice reverberating in the gray space. Seeing this, Feng De and the others couldn't help but laugh in their hearts. It seemed that this space manager had his eyes on the 19th Elder. Poor guy, he was so annoying that even God and man hated him. You detestable fellow. Don't hide your head and show your tail if you have the guts. Come out and fight me one-on-one. Hearing the words of the space manager, the 19th Elder was furious and roared, losing his mind. Instantly, Feng De and the others were speechless as they thought, is the 19th Elder crazy? He actually wanted the space manager to come out and have a one-on-one fight. Let's not talk about whether he could come out or not. To fight with the master in someone else's territory. Was this something that a person with a brain would do? The second elder and the others had the same thought. At this moment, they all turned their heads in unison. Their faces red with the words, "I don't know him." After the space manager heard the 19th elder's provocation, he laughed happily. Interesting. How interesting. Are you sure you want to fight me one-on-one? The territory you're in right now is mine. Do you have the confidence to beat me here? You're definitely not my opponent, but I don't think you have the guts to come out and fight me one-on-one. 19th elder braced himself and said. In fact, he was a little impulsive when he said he wanted to fight one-on-one, but for the sake of his face, he could only puff himself up at his own cost. Otherwise, what face would he have in front of Fengda and the other despicable guys in the future? Now he was betting that the space manager would not appear. Oh really? The 19th elder? You're too confident. The space manager said with a smile. This is the truth. You wouldn't dare to come out. 19th elder said stubbornly, but he kept praying in his heart that he would not be able to come out. He couldn't get out. Thanks TSK. Don't look down on me. I'll come out and fight you one-on-one now. Just wait for me. The space manager couldn't help but say angrily. When 19th elder heard this, he was shocked and thought to himself, oh no. If this space manager really appeared, what would he do? Do you want to fight him? Wouldn't it be even more embarrassing if he couldn't win? Just as the 19th elder was feeling depressed and conflicted, a white light flashed in front of everyone's eyes. A small, exquisite, pure white, fluffy little animal appeared in front of everyone. When they saw this little thing that was only the size of an adult's fist, their jaws almost dropped. The little thing in front of them turned out to be a pocket-sized white rabbit. It was fat and fluffy, and its eyes were more beautiful than rubies. It was looking at the 19th elder with disdain. When they saw this little guy and thought of the voice that often talked to them, Fengda and the others felt an unspeakable disappointment in their hearts. This gap was too big, right? This image was completely different from what they had in mind. When 19th elder saw the little thing, his eyes widened in disbelief. Fuck. What was this? This tiny little thing that wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth was that detestable space manager who had called out to him? If he really fought this little thing one-on-one, wouldn't he be laughed at? Right now, 19th elder's intestines were green with regret. However, seeing that his opponent was so petite, his heart was also greatly relieved. You're the manager of this space? The 19th elder asked uncertainly. Nonsense. What's there to be suspicious about? The little white rabbit's tone was very aggressive, and everyone could tell that it was telling the truth. I think we should cancel our 1v1. The 19th elder hesitated for a moment before speaking. Why did you cancel it? Are you looking down on me? The little white rabbit glared at him and roared. No. You're too young. 19th elder was at a loss. When the others heard what he said, they laughed in a low voice, making him even redder. Old man, don't you know that underestimating the enemy is a great taboo in the military? Judging a person by their appearance is a very serious mistake, and a smart person would not make such a mistake. The little white rabbit said with a serious expression. In other words, she was saying that the 19th elder was not a smart person. The 19th elder naturally understood what the white rabbit was implying. However, since things had already come to this, he could only play dumb. I have no choice. If I really fight you one-on-one, people will laugh at me for bullying small animals. 19th elder's face was filled with difficulty. Who would laugh at you? Are they? The white rabbit's ruby-like eyes rolled slyly, and then it turned to Fengda and the others, and said, If he were to fight me one-on-one, would you all laugh at him? As she said this, the white rabbit's face was filled with anticipation, and her fiery red eyes were filled with tears. I want you guys have a one-on-one fight. Fengda and the others quickly said. However, their support made the 19th elder so angry that he was burning with anger. I knew you were all good people. The little white rabbit was very happy. Then, it turned its gaze back to the 19th elder, and said with an expectant look, Old man, you were the one who said you wanted to fight me one-on-one. Now that I've come out, You won't go back on your word, right? I'm not going back on my word. It's just that I really can't have a one-on-one fight with you. The 19th elder sighed and said speechlessly, why did this little thing have its eyes on him? It really made him depressed. Chapter 1668. One-on-one fight 3. Give me a reasonable reason. Otherwise, you'll regret it. The white rabbit narrowed its ruby-like eyes, clearly a little angry. At this moment, the 7th elder, who was standing beside the 19th elder, tugged on his sleeve and whispered, 19th elder, you'd better deal with it. It's the manager of this space. If you offend it, I'm afraid it will make things difficult for you. And at that time, the loss will outweigh the gain. The 19th elder didn't understand the logic behind the 7th elder's words. Therefore he nodded his head slightly and said to the white rabbit, that little thing, I don't mean to look down on you. It's just that you're too young, so I don't have the heart to do it. Otherwise, if I accidentally hit you too hard, you'll lose your little life. Old man, you don't have to worry about me, you should worry about yourself. If you let me beat you into a pulp and lose too badly, you'll be the one to be laughed at. The little white rabbit kindly reminded. Its kind reminder made Fengda and the others very happy. However, the 19th elder's face was very ugly. He shouted with a livid face, I will lose to a little rabbit like you? You must be joking. You'll know how strong I am after we spar. The little white rabbit said slyly, Humph. Let's compete. Who's afraid of who? The 19th elder was furious. Since the words had already come to this point, if he continued to make excuses, wouldn't he be looked down upon? Then come. The little white rabbit laughed. You're so young, I'll let you make the first move. The 19th elder said helplessly. All right. The white rabbit was very generous. Immediately after, a white figure as fast as lightning pounced toward the 19th elder. Fengda and the others consciously made way for them, so that they could not display their full strength. At first, the 19th elder did not think much of the light. After all, in his mind, this little rabbit could not possibly have any great abilities. However, when the white light was very close to him, he realized that he had really underestimated the enemy. This was because the little rabbit's strength was the same as his, a divine emperor. This fact made him even more depressed. Fuck. He had never heard of a rabbit being able to advance to the divine emperor realm. Bloodline was extremely important in the beast clan. A weak beast like a rabbit could not possibly have too high of a strength. Usually they could only be considered as food for humans and other beasts. However, this little rabbit had surprised everyone. They really did not know how it had cultivated to the divine emperor realm. It was too surprising. 19th elder had also made a huge embarrassing mistake, because he had underestimated his opponent. In the time it took for him to be lost in thought, the white rabbit's legs had already landed on his face. With a light kick, it left a few deep purple claw marks on his face. After the attack, the white rabbit immediately jumped away and hid in a safe place. The white rabbit was extremely pleased with itself after its first attack. Although it didn't have any real strength, it was good that it was agile. What's more, it was the manager of this space. It could easily get its strength to the same level as the 19th elder. However, now that the old man was mentally prepared, it would not be easy to succeed. The little white rabbit had a very good attitude and knew when to stop. So, after the opponent had finished his attack, it was ready to stop the battle. Thanks. When 19th elder saw the smug look on the white rabbit's face, he was filled with hatred. What a cunning little fox. She had actually deceived everyone. Since this little thing's strength was equal to his, he naturally would not be modest. Winning against that hateful fellow was the absolute truth. Otherwise, if he really lost, he would also be laughed at to death. At this thought, the 19th elder immediately made his move. The light blue divine power he released condensed into the shape of a giant eagle, and it pounced at the white rabbit like a tiger pouncing on its prey. When the white rabbit saw this, it calmly looked at the eagle. In its memory, the eagle seemed to like eating rabbits. However, this rabbit wasn't an ordinary rabbit. It wasn't clear who would eat who. In an instant, the white rabbit also pounced towards the giant eagle. The white and blue shadows intertwined. Everyone was shocked to see this. They couldn't understand why the white rabbit would give up on defense and turn to attack. Although it was said that the best defense was to attack, it depended on the person. This little rabbit wasn't an attack-type beastie. However, at this moment, they had clearly underestimated the uniqueness of the white little rabbit. They had forgotten that this little rabbit wasn't a real beastie, so they couldn't view it with common sense. After a while, the giant eagle disappeared, and the white rabbit burped proudly. "That eagle tastes pretty good, give me another one. I haven't had enough yet." Originally, it had planned to stop the battle. However, when the 19th Elder's giant eagle with divine power appeared, it felt a call from the bottom of its heart. A voice was constantly urging it to eat the eagle. Hurry up and eat it. Therefore, it rushed forward without a care and ate it. As expected, its appetite was greatly boosted, making it extremely satisfied. You're a rabbit." When 19th Elder saw this, he reminded her angrily. "What's wrong with rabbits? Was there a rule that a rabbit could not eat an eagle? Don't you know how to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger? Even a pig can eat a tiger, so why can't I eat an eagle?" The little white rabbit said in an unconvinced manner. Other than its master, it wasn't afraid of anyone else. Therefore, it didn't even take the old man in front of it seriously. "Do you think him right?" After saying those words, the white rabbit turned around and asked Fengde and the others. "You're right," Fengde said with a look of agreement. This little white rabbit was becoming more and more pleasing to the eye. It was indeed worthy of being his own person refined by the young miss. It was really to his liking no matter how he looked at it. With Fengde's agreement, the white rabbit became more and more proud. Then it took the initiative to express its goodwill. "You guys are so considerate. I've decided to help you guys as much as I can. Thank you." A few drops of cold sweat rolled down Fengde's forehead. He didn't think that this Xiaotu would really be able to help them. Even if he wanted to, he was afraid that the young miss would not agree. You are taking bribes." 19th Elder heard their conversation and was furious. "Do we? Don't you wrong us." The little white rabbit blinked innocently and said in an aggrieved tone, "Humph. You said you would help them. We all heard it." The 19th Elder said angrily, "I only said that I will help them within my ability. What's wrong with that? I can't?" The little white rabbit rolled her eyes. "Of course not. If you go easy on them, it would be very unfair to us." The 19th Elder said in anger. Chapter 1669, One-on-One Fight 4. "But I didn't say I'd let them go easy." The white rabbit's eyes widened in disbelief, as if the 19th Elder had just made a joke. "You said you would help them." 19th Elder couldn't help but remind him, but he was cursing in his heart. What's wrong with this damn rabbit having amnesia? Had he forgotten everything he had just said in the blink of an eye? I did say that, but I won't go easy on them," the white rabbit said with a don't worry expression. "How do you want to help them?" The 19th Elder asked in a daze. "I won't tell you. This kind of thing can only be understood, not told," the little white rabbit said mysteriously, causing Fengde and the others to giggle in a low voice. They realized that this little rabbit was too good at pranking people. It was indeed worthy of being one of them. He just had the ability to anger people to death. "If you don't tell me, then there must be something between you two. I'm going to complain to Lung Wuxia, saying that you guys cheated." The 19th Elder was furious and threatened. "As you wish. Since I dared to help them, it was naturally within my master's permission. Therefore, she would not blame me. You, on the other hand, actually dared to threaten me. I'm going to punish you. You can forget about leaving this place for the rest of your life," the little white rabbit said fiercely. Although it could not lower the difficulty of the trial, it could still increase the difficulty. And since they dared to threaten it, the 19th Elder Council was doomed to be unlucky. You're threatening me?" 19th Elder was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Damn it, this rabbit didn't want him to go out as a threat, and he couldn't do anything about it. This really made him feel helpless. Did I threaten him? The little white rabbit turned around and asked Fengde and the others. "No, I didn't." Fonda and the others quickly shook their heads. Ehe. Old man, did you hear that? There's someone who can prove that I'm not threatening you. The little white rabbit was very pleased with itself, and it kept provoking the 19th elder with its eyes. You're all on the same side, so of course they'll side with you. The 19th elder said. Then tell me, did I threaten him? Seeing this, the white rabbit could only ask the second elder and the others. It couldn't be wronged, so it had to get to the bottom of this. No, I didn't. The second elder and the others looked at the 19th elder apologetically and said in unison. They had no choice. Sacrificing him alone was better than all of them being trapped here, right? Moreover, this was trouble that 19th elder had caused himself, so they could only apologize. They didn't want this rabbit to hate them too because of a 19th elder, who had nothing better to do. If that happened, they wouldn't be able to leave this place either. Thanks, the second elder and the others would never have imagined that they would be spared from the inexplicable punishment brought by the 19th elder, just because they stood on the white rabbit's side. Ehe. Did you hear that? They're your own people. The little white rabbit said happily. These people were very understanding, and it was very satisfied. Moreover, since they were so good at causing trouble, it naturally had to give them some face and not punish them as well. Otherwise, it had no intention of letting these people off. You, the second elder, who had been deserted by his friends and relatives, was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. These guys were really disloyal. To think that they were all members of the Ning family. They actually hit someone when they were down. Sob. This is too hateful. 19th elder. You should stop talking. The 7th elder could not help but advise helplessly. It is. Old man, we're done fighting while you're talking. You really know how to waste time. No wonder you can't complete the task. The little white rabbit touched on a sore spot, and deliberately poured salt on the 19th elder's wound. However, its words made 19th elder extremely depressed. He wasn't the only one who didn't complete the mission, so why did he have to be the one to do it? However, he only dared to think about it in his heart. If he really said it out loud, he would probably offend everyone. The 19th elder, who was already feeling miserable, naturally didn't want to do anything stupid. Old man, let's continue. The victor hasn't been decided yet. Seeing that 19th elder had stopped talking, the white rabbit continued. Why isn't the winner decided? You swallowed the 19th elder's giant eagle and left a mark on his face. You're the winner. Fonda said with a smirk. But this old man isn't seriously injured, so it's not considered a win. The little white rabbit said stubbornly. It was not full yet, so how could it let this old man go? That makes sense. Seeing that the little rabbit still wanted to fight, Fonda could only helplessly agree, but in his heart, he thought, could it be that this little rabbit is addicted to eating eagles? Old man, hurry up and make your move. I'll let you go first this time. The little white rabbit gave Fonda a look of admiration before speaking to the 19th elder. However, the 19th elder did not make a move. After waiting for a while, the 19th elder still didn't make a move, and the white rabbit was instantly enraged. Chapter 1670. The Shadowless Claw 1. The little rabbit was angry, and the consequences were very serious. A bolt of white lightning shot towards the 19th elder at an incredible speed. Before the 19th elder could even react, the white rabbit had already reached out with all 4 of its claws. Watch my shadowless claw. The little white rabbit shouted. Whoosh. Buzz. Whoosh. A few flashes of light and shadows appeared, and several claw marks were left on 19th elder's face. The little rabbit's claws were extremely sharp, and 19th elder immediately cried out in pain. Arg! You detestable little thing. After the white rabbit was done scratching, it quickly ran to a relatively safe distance, and looked at the 19th elder with a provocative look. Damn, old man, I'm going to fight you. You detestable little thing. I won't let you off. 19th elder was furious. He was already unhappy to begin with, and now he was even more furious. However, Fonda and the others could not help but laugh when they saw the claw marks on the 19th elder's face. Ha ha. The 19th elder. Now you've got a big painted face. Fonda said with a gloating expression. Damn it. The 19th elder glared at Fonda, then took out a pill from his storage ring and ate it. After taking the pill, the injury on the 19th elder's face no longer hurt, but the claw mark on his face had been left, and it had turned black. This result made Fonda and the others laugh even more heartily. Even the other elders present could not help but turn their heads and laugh secretly. Are you guys done laughing? The 19th elder roared angrily. However, he was not clear about the situation on his face. He was only angry because he saw them laughing at him. Don't blame us, you're just too funny. 19th elder, I reckon that you'll have to wear this disfigured face in front of people in the future. Fonda kindly reminded him. What did you just say? I dare you to say that again. 19th elder flew into a rage out of humiliation. Damn it, was he cursing him? See for yourself. Fonda took out a mirror and threw it to the 19th elder. 19th elder looked at the mirror doubtfully, and his expression changed. Fuck. What was going on? Who could tell him? He had clearly taken a healing pill, so how could there be a scar? How was he going to face others in the future with the black marks on his face? Now he finally found the reason for their laughter. However, these people were too unsympathetic. He was already in this state, but these damn guys could still laugh. It really didn't make sense. 19th elder, what are you going to do in the future? Fonda said with a look of sympathy. This is my business. You don't need to care. The 19th elder said in an unpleasant tone. I don't want to care about you. I'm just a little worried about you. But you're a man after all. You don't need to use your beauty to attract women. So it's no big deal even if you're disfigured. Fonda consoled. However, his words didn't sound like it to the 19th elder at all. In his opinion, these people were clearly trying to make a fool of him. The 19th elder was furious, but he was afraid that he couldn't win against Fonda, so he could only vent his anger on the little white rabbit. Damn rabbit. It's all your fault. 19th elder glared at the white rabbit that was provoking him and roared fiercely. Hee hee. Old man, I forgot to tell you that I haven't washed my claws for a long time, so there's some mud on your face. It's not easy to get rid of it. The little white rabbit said, unafraid of death. Thanks you. 19th elder was so angry that he couldn't speak. Fonda and the others looked at the white rabbit with admiration, and the white rabbit's proud tail was about to stand up. I'm laughing smugly. The little white rabbit hummed as it jumped up and down. It was so happy that it was bubbling in its heart. When Fonda and the others heard its song, they couldn't help but think of the Dark Tiger King, who also liked to sing. This was because when they went to see the Dark Tiger King sometimes, they would hear it howling at the moon. However, its song was too unpleasant to listen to, and they didn't even know where the tune had gone. This little rabbit was not much inferior to the Dark Tiger King. The singing of the two beasts was so unpleasant that it was hard to hear, but they both liked to sing. Hee hee. In the future, if the Dark Tiger King had the chance to enter, it might as well sing a duet with this little white rabbit. The effect would definitely be shocking. Fonda and the others couldn't help but wonder. Fuck. Don't sing anymore. The 19th elder was about to go crazy. He had lived for so long, but he had never seen such an infuriating little beast. Did it have a master? This fellow was definitely Lung Ruox's subordinate. They were exactly the same. They were all infuriating. If I don't sing just because you don't want me to, wouldn't I lose face? The little white rabbit's face turned serious, and it said unhappily. Was this old man challenging its authority? This was its territory, so it naturally had the final say. Don't you guys agree? Then, the white rabbit turned to look at Fonda and the others with an innocent face. That's right. This is your home. As the master, you naturally have the final say. Fonda and the others tactfully agreed. This little rabbit was one of their own, so of course they couldn't help an outsider. I knew you guys were the best. The little white rabbit said, very satisfied. That's right. Who are we? Fonda and the others were very cooperative. Humph. You're all jackals of the same tribe. When 19th elder heard their conversation, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Old man. Don't be jealous, you're also mine. The little white rabbit said in a double-meaning manner. Damn it. When did I become yours? The 19th elder stomped his feet in anger. You will stay here to accompany me, so of course you are my person. The little white rabbit said matter-of-factly, and then it added, whoever dares to snatch you from me, I'll exterminate him. His words were full of momentum, and Fonda and the others quickly expressed their opinions. Don't worry, we won't fight with you for him. You guys are good. The white rabbit nodded and turned to the second elder, and the others. You guys won't fight with me for him, right? I won tea. I won tea. The second elder and the others said repeatedly. As they spoke, they wiped the cold sweat from their foreheads. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. They were now living under someone else's roof, so how could they dare to snatch her away from their master? Moreover, what was the point of robbing the 19th elder? It can't be sold for much. That's good. The white rabbit seemed to be relieved. It looked at the 19th elder with a smile and said, Old man, no one would dare to snatch you from me. You. The 19th elder trembled in anger at the little white rabbit's teasing. Then his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Yeah. Why did he faint? Ooh, old man, wake up. I can't live without you. Seeing this, the little white rabbit began to howl at the top of its lungs. Hearing this, everyone's foreheads were full of black lines. They thought to themselves, this little rabbit is too good at acting, right? It's as if it's real. Chapter 1671. The Shadowless Claw 2. Little rabbit, be good. Don't be afraid. He's pretending to faint. At this time, Fonda comforted him. Really? The little white rabbit's eyes were misty with tears, and she said with a pitiful expression, I guarantee it's true. He loves to play dead. Fonda promised. When 19th elder heard this, he was so angry that he almost jumped up from the ground and cursed. He was indeed pretending to faint, but unfortunately, Fonda had exposed him. He was so angry. However, he still lay on the ground without moving, planning to make sure that he was unconscious. When the white rabbit heard Fonda's words, it was also very angry. However, it was angry that this damned old man had deceived its pure feelings. It had thought that this old man had really fainted. If one dared to deceive it, they would have to pay the corresponding price. It was not that easy to deceive. With that thought, the white rabbit hopped over to 19th elder's side and sat down on his face. It kept wriggling around. The fluffy fur on its body made 19th elder's face itch, and he almost broke down. However, he was still cursing in his heart. Fuck. The detestable rabbit had actually pointed its butt at him. He was so disgusted that he almost vomited, but he endured it in order to pretend to faint. Old man, I don't care if you're really fainting or pretending to faint, I'll be here with you. The little white rabbit said affectionately. When Fonda and the others saw this, they couldn't help but sigh. Poor 19th elder. Was he being stared at by this little rabbit? Let's see what you're going to do now. Moreover, they were all guessing when the 19th elder would be unable to resist jumping up from the ground. They were also a little curious. Wasn't this little rabbit's but smelly? The 19th elder was really patient. Just as Fonda and the others were letting their thoughts run wild, they suddenly heard a puff. Then the little white rabbit said shyly, I'm sorry. I farted. Ugh. When Fonda and the others heard this, they admired this little rabbit even more. Now they were even more certain that this rabbit was definitely messing with the 19th elder. However, they admired their young lady even more. The space manager she made could actually fart. Immediately after, everyone smelled a pungent smell in the air. Immediately, everyone covered their mouths in unison. Originally, many people were skeptical about whether this rabbit could fart, but now that the evidence was conclusive, they had no choice but to believe it. After everyone covered their mouths, they were surprised to see that 19th elder was still lying on the ground without moving. Suddenly, everyone's opinion of him rose, and they admired his determination. They couldn't stand such a strong stench, but 19th elder still insisted on not getting up. This kind of perseverance was beyond anyone's reach. In fact, what they didn't know was that it wasn't that 19th elder didn't want to jump up, but that he had already fainted from the farts released by the white rabbit. Even if he thought about it, he wouldn't be able to get up. However, it wasn't like he didn't have any unexpected gains. At the very least, everyone had a higher opinion of him. However, if 19th Elder was clear-headed, he would definitely not want such an unexpected gain. Old man, how can I wake you up? At this moment, everyone heard the white rabbit mumble to itself again. Instantly, black lines appeared on their foreheads. Was this rabbit still thinking about this? However, such a stinky fart couldn't wake the 19th Elder up, so he must have made up his mind to pretend to be unconscious to the end. Fongda, quickly think of a way for me. The little white rabbit asked for help. Why don't you let out a few more farts? Who knows, maybe he'll wake up. Fongda deliberately thought for a while before he said hesitantly. However, after listening to his idea, the others couldn't help but silently pray for 19th Elder. 19th Elder, you take care. I hope I can still see you alive and kicking, bickering with us. Thanks, this is a bit difficult. Oh, brew it. The little white rabbit frowned and said with some difficulty. It had finally made a smelly fart, and it wanted to make a few more, but it didn't know if it would work. Then, the little white rabbit held it in with all her might, until her fluffy little face turned red and her little body trembled. She looked like she was having a hard time. Seeing this, everyone couldn't bear it anymore. This idea seemed to be quite difficult for this little rabbit. After holding it in for a long time, the white rabbit finally let out another smelly fart. Then it continued to brew. At this time, Fongda and the others ran as far away from them as possible, in case they fainted before the 19th Elder woke up. Just like that, the little white bunnies brewed first. Then one by one they started farting. At this time, the entire gray space was filled with a foul smell, and there was no way to stay. Seeing this scene, everyone covered their mouths and looked at Fongda with a face full of blame. Their eyes were red as if they were saying, "It's all your stupid idea. We're also suffering because of him." However, Fongda felt wronged. How could he be blamed for this? He could only blame the 19th Elder for pretending to faint. Moreover, he did not expect this little rabbit to be so persistent and so honest. He had only made a suggestion, and it actually did it. He was speechless. Captain, could it be that 19th Elder had really fainted? Even we can't stand such a stinky fart. How can he? At this moment, Lin Yuan could not help but send a voice transmission to Fongda. It's not impossible, Fongda said as he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He had been thinking about how to deal with the 19th Elder, and had not expected such an outcome. After some thought, Fongda said, "Little rabbit, you rest. The 19th Elder might have really fainted." No way. Then wouldn't I have farted for nothing? Woo-woo. The little white rabbit began to cry gloomily, and its tears fell like raindrops, quickly wetting its fur. Don't cry anymore. You'd better think of a way to wake up the 19th Elder. Cold sweat dripped from Fongda's forehead as he reminded. What you said makes sense. I must turn my grief and indignation into strength and wake this old man up. The little white rabbit said confidently as it clenched its little paws. Good luck. Fongda encouraged. We will. After the white rabbit finished speaking in all seriousness, it began to jump around on the 19th Elder's face. Seeing this, everyone's forehead was filled with black lines. What was this little thing doing? It couldn't possibly think that with its small body, it could wake up the 19th Elder by jumping, right? Everyone was dumbfounded. Then they saw the white rabbit extend its sharp claws. With a flash of silver light, the four-clawed rabbit began to draw the same pattern on the 19th Elder's face. The crowd wiped the cold sweat from their foreheads with lingering fear. They felt the deepest sympathy for the 19th Elder. Poor 19th Elder. The previous mark on her face had not disappeared, but this time a new injury was added. Chapter 1672. The Shadowless Claw 3. However, the white rabbit's trick was very effective because the 19th Elder had already woken up from the pain. When he opened his eyes and saw the hateful rabbit in front of him, as well as its claws that were shining with a cold light, he immediately sat up on the ground. The white rabbit, who was not prepared for this, rolled down his face like a ball. Seeing this, the 19th elder grabbed the white rabbit in his hand and said fiercely, "Damn rabbit. You want to scratch me again, don't you? Old man. I've already finished scratching, and I even woke you up." The little white rabbit saw that the 19th elder was a little forgetful, so she kindly reminded him. When 19th elder heard the white rabbit's words, he suddenly reacted. Yes. Didn't he wake up from the pain? After seeing this damned rabbit, he was so angry that he forgot such an important thing. Thinking of this, he became even angrier and held the white rabbit even tighter. However, he didn't hear the damned rabbit's begging as he had hoped. Not only that, but the white rabbit also seemed to be enjoying it. It looked at him with a smile, its face full of satisfaction. Seeing this, 19th elder was depressed again. What kind of situation was this? Did this damned rabbit not know pain? At the same time, he couldn't help but increase the strength of his hand. The poor little rabbit's head was still exposed, and its small body was completely buried in his palm. 19th elder. You're too cruel. How could you attack such a cute little animal? Is this something a human can do? Fonda couldn't stand it anymore, so he criticized. Yup. The 19th elder. You're an adult, how can you bully the weak? Even though this world is ruled by the strong, you can't go too far. Lin Yuan also echoed. 19th elder. This little thing likes you so much, but not only did you not appreciate it, but you also attacked her. You're really too vicious. The disheveled old man added fuel to the fire. Then, other than the Ning family elders and Cheng Xian, everyone else began to criticize the 19th elder. In fact, Cheng Xian also wanted to interject, but considering the friendly relationship between the Cheng family and the Ning family, he had to give the 19th elder some face. However, it felt good to hit him when he was down, but unfortunately, he didn't have the chance. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. Cheng Xian was not the only one who had such thoughts. Listening to everyone's criticism, even the elders of the Ning family almost couldn't help but speak out. Moreover, in their opinion, what the 19th elder had done was indeed not right. Although that little rabbit had angered the 19th elder, it was still somewhat unacceptable that the 19th elder had attacked such a little thing, and was so serious. Some of the elders who felt that 19th elder's actions were a little embarrassing even turned their heads away uncomfortably. Their cheeks were slightly hot, all of which were due to shame. Thank you for speaking up for me. However, the deeper the love, the deeper the hate. Beating is affection, scolding is love. This old man cares about me too much. That's why he's so jealous. AI. He's too charming. What can we do? At this time, the little white rabbit, who had been silent for a long time, gave a long speech. Everyone who heard it sighed. This rabbit was too narcissistic. When 19th elder heard this, his face turned livid with anger, and the veins on his forehead throbbed. At this moment, he wanted to strangle the rabbit to death. However, no matter how hard he tried, the rabbit did not hurt or itch. It even looked at him affectionately. This fact made him so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Old man. You're so good to me. Old man. I know you care about me the most, don't worry. I'm also the best to you. Old man. Let's just stay here, and depend on each other in the future. Old man. I will treat you well. The little white rabbit's endless confession was nauseating and nauseating. The hair on everyone's body stood on end as they listened. The 19th elder was getting angrier and angrier as he listened, and his chest was so tight that he could barely breathe. Soon after, everyone watched as the poor 19th elder fainted from anger again. This time, he did not even have time to treat the wound on his face. Ugh, how pitiful. The crowd muttered sympathetically to themselves. However, they also felt fortunate that they were not the ones targeted by the rabbit. Otherwise, they would probably be as depressed as 19th elder. Why did you faint again? The little white rabbit looked depressed and sad. Then it called out to Fonda. Fonda, he fainted again. As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. That's right. He was excited. He's too happy. Fonda was afraid that the little rabbit would flood the Golden Mountain, so he quickly coaxed her. When everyone heard his words, they all looked at him with contempt, their eyes saying, "You're lying. This was definitely cheating a child." Fonda also replied with his eyes, "Do you have any good ideas? Whoever could coax this rabbit would go. Don't forget, it's the owner of this place." After a tacit exchange of glances, everyone silently agreed. At this moment, the white rabbit's voice rang out again. Really? Did he really faint from happiness? The white rabbit's watery eyes were filled with suspicion. Thanks, of course. Why would I lie to you? Why don't you ask the second elder and the others? Fonda smirked and kicked the ball to the second elder and the others. When the second elder and the others heard Fonda's words, they were so angry that they rolled their eyes. What kind of person was this? How could there be such a detestable person in this world? They had really learned a lot today. However, although they were disdainful of Fonda's actions, they said after receiving the white rabbit's expectant gaze, "That's right. He fainted because he was too happy." This time, the fact that 19th elder was happy was finally confirmed. The white rabbit also smiled through her tears and solemnly promised, "I'm relieved now. I'll treat him well in the future." Just treat him well. In order to please this little rabbit, the 7th elder also specially urged that sacrificing the 19th elder in exchange for the friendship of this space manager was quite worth it. However, he couldn't understand why 19th elder was always targeted by Beastie. Previously, he had been imprisoned by a few bears as their exclusive property, and now, he had caught the eye of a rabbit. This 19th elder's charm towards beasts was really irresistible. I will. However, can anyone tell me how to wake him up again? I can't bear to see him lying on the ground like this. He'll catch a cold. The little white rabbit said with a pained expression. Try your shadowless claw. It seems that the effect is not bad. Fonda suggested with an evil smile. Fonda, you're the smartest. The little white rabbit praised with a smile. Of course. Fonda was very proud. Following that, everyone saw the little white rabbit use its ultimate skill, shadowless claw. Its 4 little claws flew up and down, and white light danced in the sky. Whoosh! Buzz! Whoosh! The sound of clothes being torn rang out in the gray space. In just a few dozen minutes, the 19th elder's clothes had been torn into strips, and one could vaguely see his body. Moreover, the skin that was exposed was full of claw marks, and blood was seeping out of the wounds. It was a terrible sight. However, even though 19th elder had suffered quite a few injuries, the little white rabbit had no intention of stopping before 19th elder woke up. Instead, it became more and more courageous as it tried to use its shadowless claw. After a long time, 19th elder's body was already a bloody mess, but he was awoken by the pain. Opening his eyes with great difficulty, 19th elder grimaced in pain. This time, he was very clear-headed and knew that the damned rabbit must have done something to him again. Otherwise, his body would not be in so much pain. Old man, you're finally awake. I was so worried. The little white rabbit said with tears in her eyes. Damn rabbit. Get lost. The 19th elder opened his mouth to curse, but he was disappointed to find that he couldn't make a sound. What was going on? He wanted to sit up again, but he was in so much pain that he couldn't move. This time he wanted to cry. Old man, you've been unconscious for too long, don't speak. Just obediently lie down. Seeing the depressed expression on the 19th elder's face, the white rabbit consoled him. However, the 19th elder was so angry that he wanted to kill someone. 19th elder, you'd better listen to me and lie down. Fonda walked to the 19th elder's side and asked with concern. Get lost. The 19th elder shouted in a hoarse voice. This time he could finally make a sound, although his voice was very unpleasant. 19th elder, no wonder you're so annoying. I'm just trying to comfort you out of kindness, but you actually told me to get lost. In the future, don't cry and beg me to help you. Fonda said in a bad mood. After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked away without looking back. Who would beg you? The 19th elder said in disdain. When the second elder and the others heard his words, they could only shake their heads and sigh. The 19th elder really liked to offend people. Old man, don't be so angry. It's not good for the body. Forget it. It'll take you to a good place to recuperate. the little white rabbit said helplessly when she saw the 19th elder getting angry. Then, with a flash of white light, the white rabbit and the unlucky 19th elder disappeared. Chapter 1673. The Mystery Prize, 1. Everyone stared at the place where the white rabbit and the 19th elder had disappeared. They were all very puzzled. Where had the rabbit taken the unlucky 19th elder to? This time the 19th elder, who was so popular with the beasts, had once again become the exclusive property of that rabbit. At this moment, they did not know if they should sympathize with the 19th elder. After all, to be able to be fancied by the space manager here, it could not help but be considered a kind of opportunity. After the 19th elder was taken away by the white rabbit, no one else bickered with Fengda and the others. Therefore they also calmed down and cultivated. However, they could always hear a miserable scream coming from a certain space. The sound was very similar to the 19th elder they knew. Every time they heard this voice, everyone's mind couldn't help but wander. They were also very curious about what the 19th elder was doing at this time. And this had also become their only joy in this trial space. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue was also struggling with the final stage of the trial space. Right now, she had already walked more than half of the journey in the final stage. However, just as she was about to reach the finish line, she failed again. This fact made her extremely depressed. Seeing Lung Ruoxue being transported out of the trial space, the demon smiled and pulled her into his arms. "Shui, don't be too anxious, take it slowly," the demon consoled. He wasn't in a hurry anyway, and he was more than happy to stay here with Shui for a while longer. "N." Lung Ruoxue nodded, but there was still no smile on her beautiful face. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the demon suddenly heard a painful howl. Black lines immediately appeared on their foreheads. What was going on? How could someone be screaming so miserably? Furthermore, they had heard it. It seemed like the sound insulation in this space was not very good. With a thought, the white rabbit appeared in front of Lung Ruoxue. The moment the rabbit saw her, it immediately jumped into her arms and rubbed against her affectionately. "Little white, what the hell are you doing?" Lung Ruoxue asked, feeling a little speechless. "Hehe. Master, I'm helping you deal with the 19th elder," the little white rabbit said with a fawning expression. How are you going to deal with him?" Lung Ruoxue's curiosity was piqued. Even though she had unintentionally refined this little rabbit, it was still considered her beastie. Hence, it was understandable that it wanted to stand up for her. However, she really could not think of what kind of idea this little rabbit could come up with to deal with 19th elder. "I've been very gentle and used all sorts of cool techniques on him. He's enjoying it now," the little white rabbit said proudly. However, when Lung Ruoxue heard its words, a few black lines appeared on her forehead. She couldn't help but think to herself, "It's not a beastie that I've refined. It's definitely not." In fact, when she first made the space manager look like a little rabbit, she wanted a cute and simple little guy. However, it seemed that she had made a major mistake. This little thing was clearly a black-bellied little devil. "Little Bai, we're still young. We must be good children. We can't do bad things." Lung Ruoxue paused for a moment before continuing. "Master, I'm a good kid and I didn't do anything bad," the little white rabbit said with an aggrieved expression. "Then how long do you plan to take care of the 19th elder?" Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask. Even though she didn't like 19th elder, that old man was still a member of the Ning family. She had to give her godfather some face. "Master, I'm so lonely here. I've taken a fancy to that old man, so I want him to stay here with me, can I?" The little white rabbit raised its head and said with anticipation. Lung Ruoxue looked at the little white rabbit's clear eyes and was in a difficult position. How was she supposed to say this? If he agreed to let 19th elder stay here, he wouldn't be able to explain it to his godfather. He could also say that he didn't agree to let 19th elder stay here. This little rabbit would be sad again, and now she was really in a dilemma. "Thanks, master. That old man won't be able to get out. He won't be able to pass these 10 levels, at least not in a short period of time." The little white rabbit and Lung Ruoxue's minds were connected, so it naturally knew what its master was thinking. Thus it could not help but remind her. In that case, you can keep him for as long as you can. If he succeeds, you can't force him to stay in there. Lung Ruoxua warned. This way, she would have something to say if her godfather asked about 19th Elder. It wasn't that she didn't allow 19th Elder to come out, but 19th Elder didn't succeed in breaking through the barrier, so he could only stay inside. She believed that Godfather would understand. It was Godfather's fault for letting him train these elders. Hee. I knew Master was the best. Hearing Lung Ruoxia's words, the little white rabbit was elated. Don't torment the 19th Elder too much. Lung Ruoxia reminded. Don't worry, Master. I know what I'm doing. The little white rabbit promised. That's good. Lung Ruoxia only felt at ease when she heard the little rabbit's promise. Master, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. That old man is still waiting for me. The little white rabbit said impatiently. Let's go back. Lung Ruoxia nodded her head lightly. Following that, the little white rabbit in her arms disappeared. Shwea. This little fellow is quite considerate. After the white rabbit disappeared, the evildoer said with a look of admiration. He had wanted to beat up the 19th Elder for a long time. Now that this little fellow was here, it saved him a lot of trouble. However, when he heard the 19th Elder's miserable shrieks, it seemed that he had been tortured quite badly. Yup, Lung Ruoxia said awkwardly. Her beastie had all taken after her, and even this little thing that she had accidentally created was no exception. Ha ha. I think the 19th Elder must be regretting it now. Why did he have to come to the second layer domain to test himself? If he hadn't come in, he wouldn't have encountered this kind of thing. The demon said with a happy smile. He's afraid that Godfather will find out and blame him. Moreover, he doesn't believe what I said about him coming to the second level domain to train of his own will. So all of this is caused by him, he can't blame anyone else. Lung Ruoxia said. Based on my understanding of the 19th Elder, he'll definitely put the blame on you. Some people just like to push the blame on others and don't see their own mistakes. So I'm afraid he hates you even more now. The demon guessed. It doesn't matter. I don't really care. Lung Ruoxia said disapprovingly. However, the evildoer was right. At this moment, 19th Elder, who was suffering from inhumane torture in a certain space, hated Lung Ruoxia to death even though his heart was bleeding. In a certain space, a small white rabbit was sitting on a man who was covered in wounds and jumping up and down, having a lot of fun. Damn rabbit. Get down now. 19th Elder, who was a little weak, shouted weakly. Chapter 1674. The Mystery Prize 2. I won tea. The little white rabbit said stubbornly. Then she sat on the 19th Elder's face, her butt facing his mouth. 19th Elder was so angry that he didn't dare to speak. He even held his breath, afraid that this damned rabbit was farting. Now that he was imprisoned here alone, this damned rabbit definitely had a way to do whatever he wanted to him. And he didn't have any scruples from before. Therefore he didn't dare to go too far. However, every time this damned rabbit sat on his face happily, he would shut his mouth obediently, not even daring to breathe loudly. And that damned rabbit seemed to know that this was his weakness, so it used this trick to threaten him every time. And it worked every time. He really hated it to death. Old man, how nice it is for us to be here, don't you think? Otherwise, we'll all be lonely old people. The little white rabbit sighed. Good my ass. He was not alone. He had a lot of companions, okay? Even if he didn't, there were plenty of women in the divine realm who wanted to accompany him. How could it be his turn to have a rabbit as his companion? He was trapped in the past because of that damn bubble, so he couldn't do anything to those detestable bears. However, why was he imprisoned by this damned rabbit again? He could not understand why. Why? 19th Elder roared in his heart with grief and indignation. At this moment, he realized that he really needed a piece of tofu. Woo. Let him bang his head on tofu. Unfortunately, no one could hear his inner thoughts and could not help him. Beastie, the only one who could help him and was connected to him telepathically, was hiding in the beastie space for some unknown reason, refusing to come out even if it said it would die. Could it be that he was being deserted by his friends and family? The absent-minded 19th elder began to let his thoughts run wild. A month later, the 19th elder's screams gradually decreased. This made the people who were used to listening to his screams to cultivate a little uncomfortable. Some people even guessed in their hearts that the 19th elder was no longer in this world. AI. Poor 19th elder. He had braved so many storms and waves, but he was actually defeated by a little rabbit. However, the 19th elder's current situation did not affect everyone's enthusiasm for the challenge. Whether it was the elders or Fengda and the others, they were getting more and more courageous. After failing again and again, they continued to challenge the pass. This repeated for another year, and the elders finally stood in front of the last pass again. During this period, they bought elixirs from Fengda and the others for the second time. The high price made Cheng Xian a little envious. If it were not for the fact that he did not have many elixirs left, he would have taken them out and sold them. Furthermore, Fengda and the others had made a fortune just by selling the pills to the elders. But unfortunately, they didn't receive any money, but a bunch of IOUs. In the dusky space, the second elder looked at Fengda and the others and hesitated. Second elder, what's the matter? Fengda asked considerately. That. Do you still have the pills in your hands? The second elder could not help but ask. Thanks, of course there is. What second elder still wants to buy it? Hee. You can buy as much as you want, don't be shy. Fengda said enthusiastically. These old men were their big customers. Of course he couldn't neglect it. Although they hadn't received the money yet, these old men wouldn't dare to renege on their debt. Otherwise he wouldn't sell it to them. There are more. The second elder was surprised. Although he had only bought 2 elixirs from them, they had bought a lot the second time in order to save time. However, he didn't expect Fengda and the others to have more. They even told him that they had as many as he wanted. This was truly unbelievable. We have many alchemists in our family. Therefore, would I have the least lack of our medicinal pills? Fengda smiled and said proudly. As for the fact that their family still produced medicinal herbs, he couldn't tell them. Otherwise, they would be jealous. Since you have it, then sell me some more. The second elder said after some thought. The difficulty of the last stage had increased by nearly tenfold. This fact made him extremely depressed. Thus, in order to pass the stage as soon as possible, he made up his mind to buy another pill. As long as he could get out, he would rather carry a huge debt. Moreover, this last stage was also a huge challenge for him. No problem. How much do you want? Fengda asked generously. Give me 300 bottles of each. The second elder muttered to himself for a moment before speaking. 300 bottles? Are you sure? Fengda's eyes widened in disbelief. Could it be that this old man wanted to eat pills as if they were his rice? Although he admitted that the pills refined by his young miss were very delicious, and they and the young miss beasts often ate them, but looking at the second elder, he didn't look like someone who would eat pills as if they were food. What is it not enough? The second elder asked nervously. Enough? How could it not be enough? I've said it before, we can have as many as we want. Fengda said with a smile. After he finished speaking, he handed blank piece of paper and a pen to the second elder. The second elder understood and held the pen. He immediately wrote down an IOU. Oh, this was the third one. He already owed a lot of money. If he couldn't pay it back in this lifetime, he would have to sell himself to Leng Ruoxue. Although he was now Leng Ruoxue's bodyguard, it was a pity that she didn't admit it, and he didn't have the self-awareness to do so. However, if he could clear the last obstacle, he would have to think about how to get along with Leng Ruoxue. Furthermore, Leng Ruoxue still had something on him. After the pill and the IOU were settled, both the buyer and the seller were happy. The second elder took the pill and directly entered the last trial space. At this time, the seventh elder who had been watching the whole time also spoke. Fengda, why do you have so many pills? Don't tell me you guys always carry so many pills with you? The seventh elder was very curious. How is that possible? We specially brought a lot of pills here, because we're going to the second-level domain trial. Moreover, Miss told us to bring these. She said that you might need them, but Miss didn't want to sell them to you for cheap. Feng De said with an evil smile. My family's young miss said that the price inside is different from the outside. If you want to buy pills, you have to follow the price inside. Lin Yuan added from the side. His and Feng De's agreement made many of the elders so angry that they were trembling. The elders were extremely depressed. So Leng Ruoxue was treating them like fat sheep and slaughtering them? Furthermore, they had to be willing to be scammed. Right now, they were very suspicious that Leng Ruoxue wanted to sell them the elixirs at a high price. That was why she had allowed them to come here to clear the levels. Seeing the ugly expressions of the elders, Feng De didn't have to guess what they were thinking. However, he didn't care. Anyway, the price of the pill was this. It was up to them to buy it or not. They wouldn't force them to buy or sell. Chapter 1675. The Mystery Prize 3. Sell me more. The seventh elder sighed softly. Although he was also a little angry, he could not help but admire Leng Ruoxue's foresight. Furthermore, they could not blame her for buying the pills at such a high price. After all, when they were outside, Leng Ruoxue had asked them and they had found it too expensive to buy too little. However, they were in great need of the pills after entering this place, so they could only pay a high price. As the saying goes, when there are too many debts, there is no need to worry. He was not the only one who owed debts. There were so many elders accompanying him, so he really was not afraid. How many do you want, seventh elder? Feng De said in a friendly manner. He had a good impression of the seventh elder, so his attitude towards him was slightly better. The same as second elder. The seventh elder said after some thought. In fact, he could understand the second elder's desire to quickly succeed in passing the trial. How could he not do the same? All right. Feng De also took out a pen and paper and handed them to the seventh elder. After the seventh elder wrote the IOU, Feng De gave him the elixir. Seeing this, the other elders also hesitated whether they should buy more pills. The ones they had on hand were really not enough. After thinking for a while, another elder spoke up and said that he wanted to buy more pills. After Feng De heard that, his face bloomed with a smile. Then he said very considerately, "Don't worry, everyone. One by one, everyone has a share." Seeing the proud expression on Feng De's face, the elders were so angry that their teeth itched. However, they were helpless. Who asked him to have something they urgently needed? He had no choice but to buy. After serving the elders, Feng De and the others smiled at the elders present. Elders, now you are our big customers. In the future, if there are any good pills, we will definitely take care of you first. Don't worry. The reaction of the elders present wasn't too strong toward Feng De's words. Some of the elders couldn't help but think to themselves, it would be a wonder if we'll still buy your pills in the future. After being slaughtered this time, could it be that they were addicted to being slaughtered? They weren't really fools, they just had no choice. All right. You guys can rest. We're going to challenge the levels. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, Feng De did not care. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and walked into the trial space, followed by Lin Yuan and the others. At this moment, there were almost everyone in the second-layer domain trying to break through. All of them were using their own methods to struggle through the final trial. Every step required great perseverance, and the increasing pressure almost made it hard for the people in the space to breathe. Among these people, Leng Ruoxue was the one closest to the finish line. However, the closer she got to the finish line, the greater the pressure she had to bear. The lightning that was wreaking havoc on her body caused her to be in unbearable pain. If it was not for her strong willpower, she would have been transported out by now. Gritting her teeth and enduring the pain, she slowly advanced step by step. When she was only a dozen steps away from the finish line, a bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket shot straight towards her. Leng Ruoxue saw this and quickly dodged. However, the lightning still brushed past her, leaving another wound on her body. Blood quickly flowed out from the wound caused by the lightning. She hurriedly consumed an elixir and continued on her way. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Every step was difficult to take, and Lung Ruoxua had to be on high alert, carefully observing the lightning attacks around her. After a long time, Lung Ruoxua had finally reached the end. Even though it was only a short 10 steps, she felt as though she had walked for a few years. As soon as they reached the finish line, the white rabbit immediately appeared. Hee. Congratulations to Master for being the first to pass the trial. The little white rabbit said happily. Thank you. How are the others? Lung Ruoxua nodded before asking with concern. They are still working hard. However, that second elder has a good chance. This time, that old man has made up his mind. The little white rabbit said with a serious expression. The old man had learned his lesson. Every time he walked, he would immediately take 2 pills to replenish his divine power and physical strength, and heal his injured body. Although this method was a bit stupid, it was very effective. At least every time he faced the fierce lightning, his body was in its best condition. Not only that, but he also seemed to have figured out the pattern of the lightning attacks. Therefore, this time, it was much easier than the countless times he had passed the levels before. Thanks Hee. The second elder's willpower has always been above the other elders. Let me see his trial space. Lung Ruoxua instructed with a smile. All right, the little white rabbit replied. Then, with a wave of its paw, a light screen appeared in front of Lung Ruoxua. The light screen displayed the second elder's every move in the trial space. The second elder was currently in the center of the ultimate trial space, very close to the ball of lightning. As a result, he was extremely careful with every step he took, afraid that he would be struck by the lightning from the ball of lightning if he was careless. If that happened, all his attacks would be for naught. Moreover, he had a strong intuition that he would definitely succeed this time. It took him about 5 minutes to move each step with great difficulty, and with the pressure of the space, his legs felt as heavy as lead. The lightning that came out of the lightning ball did not come out all the time. He had been carefully observing it. The lightning came out once every 10 minutes, which meant that for every 2 steps he took, there would be dozens of lightning bolts flying to his side to attack him. The resistance of the space made it impossible for him to dodge quickly, so he was injured every time. The first thing he did after being injured was to immediately take a healing pill. In addition, he also had to be careful of other lightning. Every time the lightning emerged from the ball of lightning, it would stay in the trial space for a while, from as short as 2 to 3 minutes, to as long as it would disappear on its own when the next lightning appeared. Thus, everything depended on one's luck. If one was lucky, they might be able to stay in the ultimate trial space for a longer time, but if they were unlucky, they would find it difficult to move even an inch. However, the second elder's luck today was obviously not bad. Otherwise, he would not have been able to walk so far. The second elder knew that this was his best chance, so he did not plan to let it go. Staring at the ball of lightning in the trial space, the second elder gritted his teeth and walked forward in one breath. After a long time, the second elder, who was covered in wounds, finally saw a glimmer of hope. He was only a few dozen steps away from the finish line. This was the closest he had ever been. Before he was punished, he couldn't even make it this far. It seemed like the potential of humans was indeed limitless. The second elder's mood was unusually happy. He clenched the 2 pills in his hand and moved forward excitedly. Seeing that he was about to reach the finish line, he began to get excited. Just hold on for a little longer. As long as he held on for a little longer, he would be able to complete this round. Therefore, he absolutely could not fail, and even more so, he could not fall. Even if he had to crawl to the end. Suddenly, a tiny lightning bolt struck him from behind. Immediately, a mouthful of blood spurted out of the second elder's mouth. He knew that he had been careless because he was about to reach the finish line, so he relaxed a little. He quickly swallowed a healing elixir and thought, that was close. He had almost died. If the lightning had been a little thicker, he would have had to start all over again. With the previous experience, the second elder became more and more careful. He didn't want to fail in a small ditch after braving through the storm. If that happened, he would die of depression. Fortunately, the last dozen steps were calm, so he reached the end in one go. Just as he reached the finish line, the white rabbit appeared in front of him. However, it was not as warm to second elder as it was to Lung Ruoxua. Instead, it spoke in a routine manner. Old man, congratulations on your success. However, you have to thank my master for your success. If it wasn't for her powerful pills, you wouldn't have been able to pass through this lightning domain. The little white rabbit's words made second elder a little depressed. Although he was very clear that Lung Ruoxia's pills played a huge role in his success in clearing the round. Those pills were naturally his since he had spent a huge sum of money to buy them. Why did this little rabbit seem like she was here to claim credit? Furthermore, after hearing what the little rabbit said, he felt that it would be unreasonable if he did not thank Lung Ruoxia, even if he had bought those pills at a high price. I know. The second elder nodded helplessly. He had to admit that Lung Ruoxia's healing and god power replenishing pills were the most effective he had ever taken. Then you have to accept my master's favor. The little white rabbit said, a little insatiable. I've already spent money on those pills. The second elder could not help but remind him. I know. However, if Fonda and the others refuse to sell it to you, will you be able to pass these 10 rounds? The little white rabbit said matter-of-factly, her beautiful ruby-like eyes looking at the second elder with some disdain. She thought to herself, this old man is too unrefined. Not only does he not know how to repay a favor, but he also has the tendency to kill the donkey when the millstone is done. You're right. I should really thank them. The second elder strongly suppressed the depression in his heart and echoed, old man, you're still on the right track, hee. I've decided to give you a big mystery prize. I wonder if you want it? The little white rabbit said mysteriously. Chapter 1676. You're sitting on me, old man 1. What mystery prize? Although the second elder had a curious look on his face, he was afraid that this little thing would scheme against him. Therefore, he did not dare to say that he wanted it. Oh, it was better to clarify things first so as not to be deceived. Who asked him to always be tricked in front of Lung Ruoxia and her subordinates? Sob. He was scared. Old man, you just have to tell me if I want it or not. As for what mystery prize it is, hee. You'll know when the time comes, but you have to keep it a secret. The little white rabbit said in a non-negotiable tone. But you won't tell me what the grand prize is, so how can I say I want it? The second elder's words were very reserved, and the meaning between the lines was also very obvious. That was, if you don't tell me what it is, I don't dare to take it. If I told you, would it still be called the mystery prize? It's because it's mysterious that I can only give it to you after you say you want it. The little white rabbit smiled evilly and refused to give in. Forget it, I'm afraid I can't afford it. The second elder said fearfully. He was afraid that he would be deceived. Old man, I didn't expect you to be so timid. I've really misjudged you. Don't you regret it? This mystery prize is very beneficial for cultivation. The white rabbit tried to tempt him with a disappointed look. I'm not a coward. Although he knew that the other party was goading him, he still had to clear his name. However, he was curious about this thing that was very beneficial to cultivation. You're quite bold. You don't even dare to accept the mystery prize that I'm going to give you. The white rabbit's cute little face was full of contempt, and its beautiful ruby eyes flickered with ridicule. You won't tell me what the mystery prize is. No one else would dare to take it. The second elder couldn't help but defend himself. Old man, don't you know what the word mysterious means? Since it's called a mystery prize, how can it be revealed in advance? I'll only tell you if you want it. Otherwise, it'll lose its meaning of mystery. The little white rabbit began to lay out facts and reason with him. The second elder was at a loss for words. He couldn't deny that the little rabbit's words made sense, but his past experience told him that he couldn't rashly decide if he wanted the mystery prize or not. Otherwise, he might regret it. Seeing the second elder's hesitation, the white rabbit's heart was filled with hatred. It couldn't help but curse in its heart. This old man is really too open. Can't he be more straightforward? He really didn't look like a man. When the second elder saw the disdainful and dissatisfied expression on the white rabbit's face, he felt a little depressed. However, if he knew that he was not a man in the rabbit's heart, he would probably feel even more depressed. However, as depressed as he was, he did not dare to say that he wanted it before he figured out what the mystery prize was. "Old man, there won't be such a shop after this village." The little white rabbit reminded him impatiently. "But," the second elder opened his mouth, but he couldn't say the word want. "I'll ask you one last time, do you want it or not?" The little white rabbit made her final announcement. "That. I don't think you'll need it," the second elder spoke after some thought. His words, unsurprisingly, caused the white rabbit to look down on him even more. "Second elder, you didn't want this. I wanted to take care of you, but you didn't appreciate it. Humph. You will regret this." The little white rabbit roared in anger. It was so angry that all its fur stood on end. A faint pink color appeared on its white body. It was obviously angry. The second elder couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. He thought to himself, "This little thing's temper is really big enough. It's so angry over such a small matter. But fortunately, I've finally passed these 10 levels. In the future, I don't have to look at this rabbit's face. Thanks, humph. You can go to hell," the angry white rabbit said fiercely. Then, a white lightning bolt flew towards the second elder, and the second elder was kicked into a door that had appeared out of nowhere by its shadowless claw. This time the white rabbit felt great. "Damn, old man, I wanted to give you some benefits, but you didn't want it. Now you have fun." It couldn't help but think in its heart. In fact, it really wanted to give the second elder some benefits, but the second elder had measured the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure, and refused to believe it at all. This fact made it quite angry, so it kicked the second elder to another place without any restraint. As for what kind of place it was, he would let the second elder slowly experience it. The white rabbit chuckled evilly and disappeared from the trial space. Immediately after, it reported the news of the second elder successfully passing the 10th level to everyone. Whether they were resting in the dusky space or in the middle of passing the level, everyone knew about this news. Immediately, everyone's mood became excited, and their enthusiasm for passing the level also increased. When the white rabbit returned to its control space, it also told the news to the 19th elder, who was lying on the ground motionless. When the 19th elder heard this news, he only blinked twice but did not speak. "Old man, do you want to continue?" the little white rabbit asked with a smile. However, the 19th elder still ignored it. "Old man, I'm very sincere. I've decided to let you continue to challenge the levels," the little white rabbit said seriously. "You're that kind." The 19th elder was finally willing to speak, but he was very suspicious of the little rabbit's character. "Yes, I'm the kindest and most adorable little rabbit," the little white rabbit said arrogantly. However, its overly narcissistic words caused the 19th elder to look down on it. "This damn rabbit is kind. If it was kind, then there would be no evil people in the world." Moreover, he was afraid that he would never forget the torture that this damned rabbit had brought to him during this period of time. Whether it was physical or mental, it was unforgettable. Compared to this rabbit, the humiliation he had suffered at the hands of the bears seemed to be a small house seeing a big house. "What's wrong? You don't believe me? Don't tell me I'm not good enough to you?" Seeing the look of disdain on the 19th elder's face, the little white rabbit said with an aggrieved expression, "Good my ass." 19th elder cursed in his heart. If he wasn't under rabbit's control, he would have the urge to kill someone. "Don't be like this. No matter how I treat you, it's because I like you. To prove that I'm true to you, I can only use such a strong way to express my love for you," the little white rabbit muttered to herself. Then, she sat down on the 19th elder's face. The white rabbit's bad taste made the 19th elder extremely angry. Fuck. Are there no chairs here? Why did she always have to sit on his face and even use her but to face his mouth? It was really too despicable. Chapter 1677. You're sitting on me, old man, too. Although 19th elder really wanted to get this damn rabbit off his face, he knew that it would be useless even if he did. This rabbit was very persistent. Even if he got it off his face, it would still jump at his face regardless of the consequences. In his current physical condition, he could not do anything to this damn rabbit. Old man, do you want to continue challenging the levels or not? Say something. The little white rabbit asked again when she saw that 19th elder did not respond for a long time. What nonsense! You're sitting on my face. What do you want me to say? 19th elder was worried. In this situation, if he really opened his mouth to speak, what if this damn rabbit was farting or something? He would not want to live anymore. Therefore, for the sake of his life, he would rather keep his mouth shut and hold his breath than talk nonsense with it. Old man, the second elder has successfully passed the trial. Do you want to know where he is now? The little white rabbit asked again. The 19th elder's eyes turned. He obviously wanted to know, but he would not walk into a trap. You don't want to know? Seeing that 19th elder was still silent, the little white rabbit asked in disbelief. The expression on her face seemed to be saying, "You're really disloyal. AI. Since you don't want to know, then forget it. You should continue to break through. When you can't pass the last level, I'll have even more reason to let you stay here with me, hee hee." The little white rabbit said smugly. However, its words infuriated the 19th elder. Fuck. No wonder he was allowed to continue. It turned out that he was trying to find an excuse to stay here. Old man, I'll send you there. After the white rabbit finished speaking, it jumped down from 19th elder's face. Then it used its shadowless claw and kicked 19th elder into the door of the trial space. Today, he had kicked 2 people in a row, and they were even the so-called experts of the divine realm. It was really satisfying. The little white rabbit was very proud of itself. Then, with a flash of white light, it appeared in Lung Ruoxia's arms. Master, I miss you so much. The little white rabbit said enthusiastically. What bad things have you done this time? Lung Ruoxia, who was waiting in the safe space for the monster to challenge the levels, asked suspiciously when she saw the enthusiasm of the little rabbit in front of her. Master, I'm so well-behaved and cute, how could I do bad things? The little white rabbit said, feeling wronged. Such a cute and obedient little rabbit. Have you given the thing I asked you to give to second elder? Lung Ruoxia asked with a faint smile. As long as she wanted to know, everything in the illusory sky could not be hidden from her. However, with this little thing here, she could not be bothered to waste her time. I wanted to give it to him, but he didn't dare to take it. The little white rabbit said with its head lowered. You don't dare to take it? How is this possible? Lung Ruoxia couldn't understand. The thing she had asked the little rabbit to give second elder wasn't anything scary, but that old man actually didn't dare to take it. This was really too inconceivable. That old man was too cautious. He doubted my character, and thought that I was trying to trick him. So he hesitated for a long time and didn't dare to say that he wanted it. The little white rabbit said angrily. As long as it thought of this, its heart would be filled with anger. And it was still angry. This is somewhat similar to the personality of those elders. Lung Ruoxia smiled. Master, in my opinion, that old man clearly doesn't know what's good for him. People can't be too kind, otherwise people will suspect that they have bad intentions. I'm the best example, Master. We have to remember this lesson. The little white rabbit sighed with emotion. Its sighing words made Lung Ruoxia laugh. She helplessly stroked the white rabbit's fur and laughed. You little thing. You've only been born for a short time, but you actually know so much. I really don't know who you learned it from. Master, I'm smart. Self-taught. The little white rabbit began to show off. Thanks, all right. Self-taught little rabbit. Everything here will be handed over to you from now on. Also, keep a close eye on those who are in the trial, and don't let anything happen to them. Lung Ruoxia smiled as she instructed. Yes, Master. I promised to complete the mission. The white rabbit raised a paw and made a vow. Then it couldn't help but ask, Master is going out? Lung Ruoxia nodded. They would be out once the demon had completed the last stage. Master, I'll miss you. The little white rabbit had a look of reluctance on her face. You fool. I won't be too far away from you, so you can just send me a voice transmission if you need me. Lung Ruoxia chuckled. She had not expected this little rabbit to be so clingy. Now it looked like an innocent and cute little beast. Yes, yes. The little white rabbit nodded its head vigorously and buried its head into Wuxia's arms. It was only when the demon came out that it had no choice but to leave its master's warm embrace. Even though it was a little regretful, it was still very afraid of that man. The little rabbit left reluctantly. However, it did not return to its control room directly. Instead, it ran back to the gray space. At this time, there were only Fengda and the others in that space. The elders of the Ning family had all gone to break through the barrier. When Fengda and the others saw the little rabbit that suddenly appeared, they all greeted it very enthusiastically. "Little rabbit, how come you have time to come today?" Everyone present was very curious. Wasn't this little rabbit always with the 19th elder? Why did he come to see them today? I'm bored again. The little white rabbit lowered its eyelids and sighed. With the 19th elder accompanying you, how can you still be bored? Fengda's face was full of disbelief. This little guy had a toy. He must be having a lot of fun playing with it. He actually said that he was bored. This was really abnormal. That old man went to challenge the levels. I had to give him a reason to stay behind, so I could only bear the pain and let him go. As the white rabbit spoke, it was as if it was going to flood the Golden Mountain again. Seeing this, Fengda quickly changed the topic. "Where's the second elder? He's already gone out?" Fengda asked with an envious look. "No, I didn't. He's gone to another place." The little white rabbit said mysteriously. "Another place? Where is it?" Fengda and the others were shocked. It was not easy for him to pass the last level, but he still could not leave this place. The second elder was really too miserable. You'll know when the time comes, because after you've successfully passed the trial, they'll also send you there. The little white rabbit said with a smile. Could it be the 3-layered domain of the illusory sky? Fengda guessed. The Buddha said, "Can't say." The little white rabbit insisted on not revealing it, but its words made Fengda and the others a little depressed. It turned out that even if they passed the last level, they could not get out. "Don't be afraid. You're on the same side, they'll protect you." The little white rabbit patted its chest and promised. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.